Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the PlayStation Fight Nights. My name is Ketchup and I'm joined by the wonderful Saki Sakura. How are you doing? It's a pleasure.
I'm good. It's a pleasure to be commentating with you this time. I think this is our first official broadcast together. So you already know it's going to be super hype.
I've seen you in so many, but we've never been able to sync up. So today is a very, very good day. But it's also a really good day for Mortal Kombat fans around the world if you like competitive play, because Europe starts today. And if you enjoy what you see, shortly after this broadcast, we'll be changing over for North America. So you've got 2 top 8s to watch tonight, or this morning, or this evening. I guess it depends on where you are. But we've got a few things to get through before we get stuck into our first match. The first of all being, there is a new channel created for all things competitive PlayStation. You can find it over on youtube.com/PlayStation Esports. And that generally has everything you could hope to consume as a content fan if you like PlayStation. Because whether it's character overviews, tutorials, player interviews, it's kind of all there in one package. So get subscribed, check it out, and I'm sure you'll like what you see. But it's all about Mortal Kombat today, and I think the first thing for us to go over here is the format. So, Saki, why don't you run us through what to expect?
Absolutely. So here at the PlayStation Fight Nights, for tonight's format, it's going to be the open qualifiers going into tonight's top 8 bracket. It's going to be double elimination, so players have 2 chances to get to that finals. And then, of course, this is going to be best of 3, a little bit different than our Road to Evo show that we had last month. So we're back to that best of 3 format. And then, of course, with top 3 being best of 5. So plenty of games, but also definitely high stakes.
And with that does come a little bit of prize money. So, not a bad day's work for just chilling out and playing some Mortal Kombat. If that's what players were going to be doing anyway, why don't you play and earn yourself some money? First place, $200, and that goes to $150 for second, third, $100, fourth for the 50. The important thing to keep in mind is that top 4 is in the money. And that's kind of where everybody is going to aim for as a base. But as it has been a good 4 years or so now since MK11 first came out, we are in a position where this late on in the game, anyone in the top 8 is capable of winning the entire thing. So top 4 would be nice, but I doubt that's going to be the end result, or I should say end goal for all of our players in today's bracket. But what is a tournament without players? Let's talk about who's going to be going head-to-head in these first round matches. Stormbreaker versus Omi, that's going to be our first match of the day. After that is MB versus Murko, and if I'm not mistaken, MB representing Poland, which is not a fighting game scene that we get to see a huge amount of with Mortal Kombat, so it's lovely to see more players from Poland. Starks versus Gollywomp is going to be our third match, and then H-Dope versus MakoraN, the one and only Scarlet, going head-to-head against H-Dope for that 4th match.
Plenty of matches. I mean, all of these names are pretty much familiar. We were talking about it a little bit earlier before the broadcast and reviewing the bracket and kind of like taking notes. I feel like we've all seen these names. They're very familiar to us, and it's like you mentioned, this late in the stage of the game, it's all about that win. It's not just about being in that top 4 and trying to get to those money matches per se. It's always about trying to get that grand final win and definitely solidifying your last placements, I want to say, for Mortal Kombat 11. So you have these PlayStation Fight Night tournaments, and then of course you have Evo at the beginning of August, rather. So these are your last couple of chances to make your history, as we like to say here in Mortal Kombat 11.
It's a mixture of upsetting but extremely exciting, because these are the final big events of Mortal Kombat. And before we get more into that, I want to remind everyone that if you want to find out more about PlayStation tournaments and how you can get involved yourself, it's compete.playstation.com. If you're watching this show and you think, oh, I'm kind of seeing that PlayStation's live, I'll check it out, I'm not really a fan of fighting games, but let's just see what the deal is, you're actually in luck, because PlayStation Tournaments does cover multiple games, and if you enjoy competitive PlayStation, there's probably going to be something in some capacity that you can jump into and have some fun with. So again, compete.playstation.com. On top of that, if you want to meet like-minded players that also enjoy the games that you like, there is an official Discord that has been created, and that is the #1 place to chat with fellow PlayStation fans try and find some matches, get involved in tournaments, and sometimes there are watch parties where shows just like this one can be shared with various fans around the world. So it sounds to me that if you're a fan of PlayStation, there's a lot to jump into, and that is only a good thing.
Indeed. And also, you mentioned some games, multiple games. I hear DNF Duel is also part of the PlayStation tournaments as well. So I'm pretty excited to see many of these players come out, especially with that new patch coming out. But like you mentioned, we are going to be talking about Mortal Kombat 11 today. So our first round match, Stormbreaker versus Omi. Omi's one that I've definitely seen multiple times on the EU side of things. Quite a character and player from Turkey, age 26. You can follow Omi over at Omi_FGC. And Sub-Zero definitely also has the Frost. I've seen a couple of the Frost plays as well, so I'm excited.
We've seen, I think, roughly 4 characters from Omi. Kind of from the beginning over to where we are now. Meaning that when we first saw Omi, it was pretty much Sub-Zero all the way, and then kind of months pass on, we start to see Frost, we start to see Jade, we've seen a little bit of Jackie, although I think Jackie is the least common in at least PlayStation tournaments. I mean, Omi could by all means be competing in other events like Rips Arena or something, where maybe you'll see even more characters. However, for PlayStation, I think Sub-Zero and Frost tend to be the 2-character team. Now, when it comes to Stormbreaker, a player that I've seen significantly less of, but you've always got to respect and fear, a Kung Lao main. That's just the law of the land here for Mortal Kombat, especially later on where, look, Kung Lao players become less and less reserved the longer the game goes on. They start to get a lot more wild, a lot more unpredictable, especially Kung Lao in this game with the different variations, you know, thanks to the customs that were introduced in that final version of the game. You've got Buzzsaw, you've got Possessed Hat, you've got the Z Hat, you've got the Orbiting Hat. There's, look, a playstyle for everyone if you're a fan of Kung Lao. But against someone like Omi, who's well seasoned, he's probably seen it before. So we'll see what Stormbreaker can provide in this first match. You know, you've got to be 100%.
Absolutely, and with Kung Lao, like you mentioned, that's a character that really starts up a little slow, but definitely will, as the match goes on, catches you off guard each and every single time. Also, Sub-Zero being that character that I just remember in the beginnings of Mortal Kombat 11 Season 1, Sub-Zero was kind of like under the radar. You only had to worry about like slide and that overhead, and now you're still worrying about those 2 things, but I feel like has been probably one of the most used characters on both sides of the region. And it looks like, though, we're gonna see the Jackie for our first round from Omi instead, and Stormbreaker on the Kung Lao, as you mentioned before.
I don't dislike the choice. We have... Ooh, Stormbreaker's rocking the spiritual guidance. This is a move I didn't even mention. The ability to summon the great Kung Lao, and it kind of explodes the utility. Kung Lao gets some ranged options. The most important thing, though, being combo tools up close. His 1-2-1 becomes an auto shimmy that you can combo meterlessly with spiritual guidance. However, we'll see how much that benefits. And I was going to say before we even saw that, the choice of the Jackie, I kind of get the impression that, look, you want to play Kung Lao, you want to be aggressive, it's going to be a very in-your-face matchup. I'm going to pick the most in-your-face character, and that already sets up for a crushing blow into that meaty plasmonic. However, corner positioning now goes into Stormbreaker, and I like that combination of spiritual guidance and Z-Hat. Z-Hat tries to keep you honest, keeps you locked to the ground, and then spiritual guidance, I mean, that's just combo city if he lands a clean hit.
Absolutely. Now that down 2 did whiff at the end, but Stormbreaker able to get the jump kick in and getting the Kung Lao kick, but here we have Omi starting it up and actually going to end Fatal Blow, which I do agree. You're already close to the end. That was a little bit of a scary place to be as you tried to get out of that corner, and now you just get that round through. Also, Jackie's someone that has a lot of damage, so even when you're using that Fatal Blow, you still have multiple resources left later on that you can go ahead and use.
I gotta say, you know, speaking of corner, I kind of feel like Stormbreaker lost that match for himself there. But the mid-screen was there, the damage was good, and then all of a sudden teleports yourself straight back into the corner, and struggling to get out is what inevitably caused Omi to take the round win. However, the fight mid-screen continues, and much better off for the Kung Lao so far, working on basically a flawless Not anymore, obviously. A little bit of damage on block will quickly do that. But from a damage side of things, Stormbreaker's not doing too bad. Oh, punishes it on Wake Up.
Ooh.
Looks in for... That could have been a dive kick. Either way, who cares? No armor break needed. We'll take the round anyway. And I think if we can keep the fight mid-screen, Stormbreaker's in a much better spot here.
Absolutely, and that's like a character thing for Kung Lao, but that is going to be a punish. Not a full punish, but still getting caught into the combo. And
That was terrible punish.
that was like very terrible, yeah. And here we have the plasma going out. Stormbreaker missing the opportunity to actually get the in from that second plasma, but we do have that crushing blow coming from Omi, and this is actually a great start for, or rather great continuation from Omi. We do have Stormbreaker though, and that fatal blow can be quite dangerous.
Almost a checkmate situation. And there's the jump, there's the neutral jump into the plasma, and there's not much you can do about that. And I think this is, you know, as MK11 comes to a close in its competitive cycle, that's one thing about Jackie that has always been one of by far the scariest things about this character is there's not a lot of characters that have a true checkmate, something that you cannot work around unless you just get a miracle round where maybe you'll hit a fatal blow and then maybe you're able to stay close range enough to prevent a single one from leaving the ground. But most projectiles that can do damage to an opponent will still eat through last breath, that built-in mechanic to let you survive by however many hits your defensive bar allows. Jackie's plasma just bypasses that completely, and it's such a unique case. I look at other characters and I think Kotal Sunray has that, Jackie has that. There's not many else that has a tool as powerful as that one.
Yeah, and again, dot damage at the end of the day, being able to kill is one of those things. You also mentioned Aaron Black's is like poison does this effect as well.
Correct,
when it's actually on the ground. So it is a great tool for a checkmate situation that, quite frankly, sometimes you have to just let it go, especially when you're at a low health like that. But this is such a great start for Omi. I can see why the Jackie pick is working extremely well, because there's not really much that Kung Lao can do in response to some of the safe pressure that Jackie's just able to go through. And again, that dot damage between the leap on that jump in, and you're already seeing all of Stormbreaker's health just insanely gone.
And there's the anti-air as well. Omi with the pressure on Wake Up was thinking, even if you sit here and block, I'm going to get basically like 10% or so damage of chip plus the damage over time. I'm in a pretty good space, and it don't get any better than match point, as Omi just needs one more round here to move on in the bracket. Wow, actually holds down the amplified shot just to guarantee that it lands on the floor and it's not going to go to waste. And sadly for Stormbreaker, just hasn't had many opportunities to get started. That is incredibly unsafe. Omi tried to go for a slightly bigger punish, but it doesn't matter because the crushing blow down 2 says, thank you very much, I'll take those 37%, and another full combo here for Omi. No meter to amplify, but another jump in. Look, that was Jackie all over. That was well played there by Omi, the right character for the job. The second that pressure got locked in, Stormbreaker just didn't have any answers.
Yeah, even with some of the wake-up options, right? Like we saw Omi actually using Leap to avoid the wake-up up 3 from Stormbreaker in the corner in that first round, and then just able to fully punish it. And mind you, Kung Lao's wake-up up 3 is very still like active, especially after the multiple kicks. And then, of course, in that moment, you see Stormbreaker roll out towards the last end of that round, and Jackie just comes in, able to, again, avoid it and punish it appropriately. So that is a great progress there for Omi, going up 2-0 and then moving on into the winner's side. Stormbreaker isn't out just yet. We'll be heading down to the lower side of the bracket, where they'll be waiting for their next opponent. But a great start so far, and quite frankly, that's something that we expect here on the PlayStation Fight Nights. These level of players is no stranger to what the talent is showcased on here, so looking very solid.
Well, we'll find out what our next opponent's going to be, because I do believe it's going to be, oh yes, I kind of cheated a little bit before we even flew to it. I was looking at it. It's going to be MB head-to-head against Murko. Now, what that means is, I haven't actually seen Murko play in one of these in a fair while, so it's a pleasure to see him again. And for those wondering, maybe you knew, who is Murko? One of the best Scorpion players in the history of modern Netherrealm. And that is no exaggeration. I remember seeing Murko for the first time back in, I want to say 2015, but it was mostly 2016 where I started to see the more regular attendance of Murko, mostly in some community cups and various other online activity. Very much an online player is Murko. I don't believe I've ever seen him offline, and I do dearly hope that Mortal Kombat 1 changes that, especially seeing as, I mean, look, Scorpion being in Mortal Kombat 1 was never going to be a mystery, but now we at least know what the gameplay's like. Murko's no doubt going to make it work. Now, what interests me more is always players that I've seen less of in a tournament like this, and that is where I want to talk about MB, a player that I have not seen a huge amount, I have to say. However, representing Poland here, and shout out to the Polish FGC, I don't really get to see much of them when it comes to NetherRealm, so it's always good to see him. But Noob Saibot and a backup of Cassie Cage. So, two characters that Murko has seen in depth many times before. I kind of feel like the pressure is on MB for this match. I think Murko is a well-seasoned Scorpion veteran. MB, not as familiar, I think, in the PlayStation sense. This is where a lot of my focus is going to come in. How does this Noob Saibot fare against a legend?
Definitely agree with you there. And I almost I was going to say Noob Saibot has to be that character that I think you're going to have to use against Murko. We've seen a couple of Cassies here on the PlayStation Fight Nights, but it doesn't seem to live too long as far as like success rate when it comes to the character. I'm curious to see though, because one thing I noticed from Murko quite often is like he's almost like an anti-air god, personally, just so ready for multiple things. And of course you have the teleport cancel and the burning spear, which is that buff for Scorpion, and then Noob Saibot, one of the best characters for customs and when it comes to damage and optimizing every single part of that damage.
I think, honestly, pointing out the anti-airs is a good call, and I would say it extends even further that Murko is one of the most reaction-heavy players that we have in the business, and that's something that Scorpion can... Need I say more? Ask
There you go,
shall
it's right
receive. That's always been a scary thing about Murko, is that he provides a different kind of challenge for an opponent. You'll notice that things that you're normally used to getting away with, Murko will react to, and that will change the entire dynamic of a match, while at the same time not being afraid to just enforce a brutal use of that back three overhead. The moment you block low one time is when that forward four hits you, and that's kind of what Murko does. He'll react, he'll chip away, he'll punish when necessary, but he'll condition you the entire time to not watch the thing.
Absolutely. And also, Murko has this pace in the match that really can get you very uncomfortable, and that's like the type of level that Scorpion really thrives here. And we do have both players in Fatal Blow territory, but realistically MB on that lower health of the side, and there goes the wake up 3, but the down 1 check from Murko, able to clutch this first round out. Very nicely done. And again, this is just one of those things where like you start seeing MB adapt a little bit more towards the playstyle of Murko's Scorpion, which is that fast-paced, very high reaction. Like, look at that, just already getting the stand 1 as soon as MB was about to start up the combo.
Even ending that round in up 3 on block. Lovely little turn stealing flawless block. But doing up 3 into a down 1 is a very, very unsafe thing to do, but Murko just so convinced. Oh yeah, by the way, you're dead. Absolutely. The damage is going to be 100% guaranteed on that one, and no breaker. Sadly for MB there. I want to say, I'm referring to this player as MB, but their name on content is Fancy Kicks, and their gamer tag is Fancy Kicks. I got a feeling that after this show, MB's going to watch the broadcast and go, catch up. Why are you calling me MB? My name is Fancy Kicks. I'm so confused.
You mentioned something interesting about pretty much no breaker, and that is indeed something that Scorpion does really well too, is that there's not really a chance. A lot of all of that damage that we see from Scorpion is grounded. Very few launchers that the character actually enacts in his combos, and so with all of that in mind, plus the buff on the spear, you're definitely getting hit for minimum 30 to like 35%, looking at everything without even a crushing blow on deck. So Murko already up a round, or a game rather, and this is where Fancy Kicks, or MB as you were saying, definitely needs to be a little bit quicker on that adaptation and try to see how they can counter against Murko's Scorpion.
And I think Murko's the kind of player that... Going in for the amplify as you try and jump over it. That's a nice little first hit. Not the first hit. I got so used to the first hit bonus coming back in MK1 that you forget it does nothing in MK1 besides give you props. However, full combo. And actually, interesting. Keeping things pretty simple there, but still getting a respectable amount of damage on it, and currently has the life lead. How long that lasts, I guess, remains to be seen. It's now Murko. Opponent's been put into the corner. Able to escape, though, so we're not in a terrible situation just yet. Now we'll see. Can MB keep him in there? I'm going to stop talking about the corner because every time I say it, they reverse. And they've just done it again. They've just done it again.
You're cursing the corner. You're basically bad luck in the corner, essentially. Let's see if MB can try to take out Murko here. That was a great throw tech, but still, Murko goes for another grab in a very risky situation, but the rollout pause still in recovery as MB solidifies the round and we're back to neutral a little bit.
That was a risky play from Murko, just dedicated to that forward 3-4. I mean, maybe thinking it could perhaps crushing blow, maybe get a counter hit, might catch a jump in. Either way, the risk attached to that from a roll is pretty severe. So first round now, there's the counter hit, which is of course going to be the crushing blow attached. Forces the breaker, and it sets up for the burning spear. So we're going to get some extra damage here. Oh, especially now. And the side switch looks for a bit of extra damage. That spear would have led us into easily over 40% damage. And that's one thing about Murko. The jump option select into spear is almost completely guaranteed. And there's not a lot of Scorpion players that do that. If you hit that jump kick, if you input spear, on block nothing happens. And if it connects from most heights, that spear is going to give you a fall.
And that is going to tie up the round here as we are on potential set point for Murko. MD or Fancy Kicks also on this chance to make the comeback. Still keeps getting hit by that overhead. It is very hard to overreact, especially when you're in the game and you're just seeing so much and taking into account everything that Murko is just doing. But there goes the throw from Fancy Kicks. Goes for the full screen and tries to get the slide out. Once again, you have to watch your toes when it comes to Noob Saibot's slide, especially as he builds up the crushing blow.
Now that's a punish. The counter hit was already used though, so no crushing blow this time. I've got to point out, the escape failed, and actually now escape failed on both sides, so if either player gets a successful throw here, it's going to be a lot of damage. Now, restand, goes in for a delayed overhead, gets the punish on that, even from that range. That's what I mean, Murko with the knowledge, and from this point now, the crushing blow on the throw does not matter. Anything will do it, but now watch out for fatal blow. MB goes for the why not kind of fatal blow, and that's going to set up for a teleport. Murko takes the series, but a much closer second game there. I was kind of worried that they both had one round left to go, and they both had a crushing blow throw locked and loaded, so that up-close game was risky on both parts. Not that it even made the difference, but a clean 2-0 for Murko, but a well-fought match there from MB. Fancy
Absolutely.
Kicks.
It's one of those, the score does not tell the full story. And, you know, when you look at what Noob Saibot was trying to do with the fatal blow, especially at such a longer range, right? It's sometimes one of those, like, you know, you're already on chip damage, like chip situation. It's going to be like a checkmate no matter what you're going to do. Sometimes you just have to, like, let it go. I also have heard from Noob Saibot mains that is also a way to, like, get a significant amount of chip onto your opponent as well for that fatal blow. But Murko was very much cool, calm, and collected, using the spear to take out that defensive bar, and then using the teleport. Even if MB or Fancy Kicks was able to block it, that was still a checkmate because you were going to get chipped out no matter what. So both players very strong in terms of how they were trying to play their close-up game. It just came down to Fancy Kicks not adapting as quickly as you would hope, especially against someone like Murko, who's very much already on that reaction, like quick to see everything, essentially.
A reaction-heavy game plan is so heavily exaggerated by fast play, and that's something about Murko, is that he's such a fast player that he really forces you to keep up with his tempo, and not a lot of players are able to roll with that, I suppose. But going up against Omi in that next round of the winners bracket, so we'll see that in due time. Our next matchup on stream has a potential to be Jax versus Baraka. When's the last time we saw that matchup in tournament?
Whew. I think season 1 probably, when everybody was still figuring out what Baraka was all about and what Jax was all about too as well. Maybe recently, as far back as like I've seen like a couple of Baraka and a couple of Jax mains still inside these brackets, but definitely never against each other since Season 1.
They're not popular characters, and that's just, excuse me, how the meta has shaped, I suppose. Jax can often be seen as a character that, although he has damage in the right situation, still has to kind of be a momentum character like that, and Baraka, heavy hitting, but the biggest thing that lets him down is movement. So check it out, Starks first. Admittedly, a player I was not that familiar with. However, I guess a reason for that is, at the age of 18, you would have only just been allowed to compete in these tournaments. So there's a possibility that playing it for years before, but just not quite able or eligible to compete, that is sometimes a story that we can see. Players that started out at a young age and they just kind of clicked with it and they enjoyed it and they got involved in tournaments and that because, you know, it's I think the way the esports system has changed, there's more opportunities now to compete in stuff from the comfort of your own home than there ever was when I was 18. The netcode didn't really support it, the opportunities weren't there, and what a difference just over 10 years can really do to expand the player base.
Of fighting games, essentially, right?
Yeah,
it comes
absolutely.
from being online for practically 2 years, especially when it comes to Mortal Kombat 11's life cycle. And then now, you know, we're here enjoying more talent across the globe. Mortal Kombat being global, essentially. So definitely agree with you there. It's definitely been an evolution for fighting games. And then, of course, our next opponent, which is going to be Gollywomp. I think this one probably might be my second or third time actually being able to commentate their matches. Age 30 from Italy. Another great place that I've seen a lot of talent also coming up as well. And then, of course,
Yes.
you can check out their stream at youtube.com/Gollywomp. Also, check out how cool that now YouTube has, like, the @ signs. So now you can actually just search @ instead of having to just type in the search bar and see a bunch of, like, videos. You'll still see all the videos, but you'll see their channel right away. So definitely a good change there for YouTube. And, of course, the Baraka main. This is Baraka. I think probably a better, I would say, has the best anti-air move. One of the best, like top 5, you could say, when it comes to using the, in customs, essentially. Also has that command grab too that can be a little hard to react to if you're not aware of it. So this is going to be an explosive match because both characters actually deal a lot of damage when they set up properly and they enact their game plan.
I'm really excited to see what the Italian NetherRealm community can bring forward in Mortal Kombat 1 because there were a lot of good players throughout Mortal Kombat. You know, we had players, obviously. Look no further, the Italian Baraka. We have Murko. We have players like Asadamasa, who, granted, I think hasn't played Mortal Kombat 11 in some time because, you know, just decided to focus on other things. But I'm sure we'll see him back for Mortal Kombat 1 for a fresh new chapter. And that's just mentioning a tiny handful of Italian Mortal Kombat players. There's a lot. There's a lot of really, really talented players in the team. Let's look at the variations here. So Blood Lunge and Leg Kebab Ultimate mix-up. And it is going to be the Jax from Starks. Let's go. Absolutely wonderful stuff.
And there goes that command grab, already going to the lunge. And bringing out the mix-up, that Leg Kebab there, going for the full. Now, because Starks took the hit, that command grab's not going to actually work. And this is already Jax with heated arms. And a great start here for both players as they're both evening up these health points.
I do like the choice for Jax here because at the end of the day, when we see Starks pick someone that isn't Jax, it mostly comes down to like a zoner or some kind of ranged character that prevents you from getting in and doing your thing. These are two characters that want to get in, so it's going to be a matter of, right, well, I don't really have to work to reach that distance because we're both going to be doing it for each other. But how does this mix up fair? Going for the whole thing. Respects the forward 2, the delay. And actually even more of that Baraka pushing in, but the micro duck to let the standing one whiff, and a fatal blow just to quickly seal the deal. So all in all, a good first round here for Starks.
Indeed. I saw Gollywomp trying to do some of the stagger game that can definitely be a little scary when you're facing against Baraka, especially on some of those strings that can either lead to being safe or plus, but sometimes you just have to challenge, and that's exactly what we saw from Starks. That command grab whiffing completely, and Starks responding with the throw, and this is not good right now, because this is going to be a restand situation, and I like it. Just waiting a little bit to see if Gollywomp was going to respond with either down 2 or with down 1, and Starks just getting ready for it.
I'm not gonna lie, the only other player I've seen ever do that is a Foxy Grandpa, where you walk up to an opponent trying to expect a throw and you just crouch. You let the down 2 whiff and you punish them, and it makes your opponent feel so foolish. But in this case, actually didn't bite. Not that it matters, because Starks is going to take that first game in rapid fashion. And I gotta say, the first time I saw Starks in one of these was a few fight nights ago. Myself and Chef, we'd seen the Jax. We became instant fans. And this is the reason why, because you don't get to see Jax played at this caliber, and a player like Starks who is still pushing on with this character and showing some really cool composure and just some airtight pressure, and of course good punishes. You know, you've still got to make sure you're hitting those Jax combos, which can sometimes be a little bit trickier than they look.
As someone who's never played Jax, they definitely do look pretty tricky. It does not seem like it's always a fun time. You gotta be really on point with trying to hit some of those moves in succession. Let's see if Gollywomp can make any adjustments. I don't think there's going to be any change to variation. Again, yeah, exactly. Blood Lunge and Leg Kebab. This is as best as Baraka's going to be when it comes to this matchup. If it was something that was more focused on, like, that they were leaping more or they were jumping more and it was just, like, a hard time to anti-air, we could have probably seen something, but Gollywomp is going to have to make some of these adjustments. That second round was quite just a fast-paced round, but let's see if Starks can make it through, because that down 2 crushing blow already catching some of those command grabs.
Starks has been calling out quite a lot of these mix-up options so far and isn't afraid to instantly challenge. There goes to show the confidence here from Gollywomp to be able to return the favor pretty much just as much as it's being given, and dedicating to those mix-ups still. Keep your opponent on their toes, even if they're disrespecting, even if they're challenging. And now that's a lot of heat spent on those missiles. Forward throw to almost equalize the health. Both players with not only a fatal blow, but one that goes forward and goes fast. Oh, that was a risk!
Lunge, but it still leaves Starks alive, having to use
flawless
the
block.
roll away. Nope, this projectile. That's what's gonna happen sometimes if you're not quick on it. The flawless block attempt was really good though, because that did at least leave Starks alive a little bit longer, but that's what's just gonna happen as Gollywomp is gonna try to zone and keep Starks out, which I think is probably where best decision, to be honest, when it comes to Jax. You want to keep away from that pressure up close.
Yeah, if we're looking at a projectile war, Baraka is going to have the upper hand. Jax covers a little bit more range in theory, but at the end of the day, it's a slower projectile. Does less damage for a trade too. Now there's the instant return there from the Baraka. The mix-up of the leg kebab says it's a low this time, and I'm putting you in the corner. The forward 2-1 hits and actually almost got you punished, but not quite. Stark's now fighting back. And good thing is being able to fight your way out of this corner. That whiff throw made me extremely nervous.
Oh, tries to actually interrupt, but those blade rather are gonna still be active as that happens. But Starks now actually trying to grab, putting Gollywomp in fatal territory. This might be it.
Boom! They got it. Starks got the KB. Look, when you know it's going to be enough to get the kill, you get nervous watching that every time. But the clutch, one hit away from losing the round and the game, but instead the execution and the timing to put yourself on match point. And we'll see if that's going to be the change of momentum. The punish! That Baraka, you got a break. Mix-ups.
You're definitely still in this corner. There goes this down 2 again because of that high move that Starks tried to push out. But the sweep, trying to get out of this corner, is successful. And now we're just trying to regain on that distance. Because Starks has been showing that up close, he is no joke.
Oh, absolutely not. And is not afraid. The punish on the roll! Wait a minute. There's a bit of heat. I don't think there's enough. No, there is. It's not enough to kill, though. And the pressure on Wake Up, that's going to be the last hurrah, potentially, because there was no defensive bar. The short hop over the Wake Up! Are you kidding me? No way. No way!
This is it's now or never. You have
no way!
Into the portal! The avalanche, just the snowball effect that Baraka can have on you is exactly what was happening there against Starks, as it was just going downhill, and now we're going to game 3 because of it.
I I can't believe how that match ended. The short hop, because Jax's wake up 3 has that low hitbox on it. Baraka short hopped over it, punished it, and then there was definitely an element of Starks being flustered there. The wake up instant jump, not convinced that was the intended play. Whatever it was, it didn't work, and you got punished on landing. And it brings us into a 1-1. That was a amazing comeback combined with a major choke, I think. It was one of those combinations. But look, one more game of this, I want it. Bring it on.
Definitely. I love how both of these players are just playing right now with such unique characters from them
we're
both.
gaming.
We're definitely 100% gaming right now. And I agree with you. It's just one of those things where you start panicking because you're like, oh, I only have to just get that one hit. But sometimes your opponent knows. And so they're going to probably be even more wild than you are.
Committing to the mix-up once again. And that's what this variation of Baraka does. You've got the lows where overheads can come out, and you've got the grabs where you're going to be sitting there and blocking. And it looks like, again, the pressure here from Baraka. However, the Jax mid is able to get that punish. We're going to build up the heat now, get the corner pressure. Bonk, right on the head.
That bonk is always so satisfying, just the way it sounds. From how, even if it hits, it's like such a satisfying moment. But Starks now in this corner, gonna get down to crushing blow, and the second down two to just say, you know what? That's it. Just let's have that kill happen. And right now, potential set point for Gollywomp. Gonna try to break the zone out Starks, but Starks is the one that's able to start conquering the corner here and dominating, going for the reset and bringing out the mid.
Oh, lets the chop blades early. So I think it tries to make it a little bit harder to punish. Speaking of which, are we going for it again? There, the punish is going to be clean this time. And we're going to pick up this full combo and build up the heat even further. Are we going to try and spend one of these maybe? A little bit on the missile pressure. Lose even more of it. Amplify the ground pound. And now just a little bit of life left to go. But this is Baraka we're talking about. The damage, especially with Fatal Blow, can happen out of nowhere. KB chases down the roll.
Oh,
and now
no.
Fatal Blow will kill. Fatal Blow will kill. Oh!
I think this
so
is
good.
like a perfect example of what we were seeing in the last round, but this is where, as a player, you have to slow down yourself down. You cannot panic. You cannot start pressing buttons or try to jump out, but that looks like that was a full-on whiff there from Starks. Probably was not expecting that.
The wake-up jump. Actually, not a lot of damage, but forces the breakaway. And actually, unbreakable 31%. Not that it would have mattered as the breakaway had just been used, but look, I'm not used to seeing Jax players use this increased string all that much. I know some players don't like the duck OS, and they say that you can get blown up from that, but look, I'm not really seeing much of that now, I tell you that much. Even Stevens on the health department, both players with a little bit of resources left to go, trying to build up for some counter zoning. I'm going to try and throw some kind of projectile, but now Baraka has the advantage at this distance. The question is it going to be this distance for the rest of the match? Starks with Fatal Blow. Now you can't throw a projectile. That dash punch is coming. He's trying to bait it out with the down one.
And into the Fatal Blow. I think this can be it if all shields are not actually pressed.
And if it doesn't kill, which it does!
It does.
I was about to say if it didn't kill, Jax had the heat, but it didn't matter. That was, without question, the match of the day so far. And to be frank, I think it's going to be kind of hard to top that today. And I'm including North America in that. You know, anyone watching this from the North America show, maybe later on, I'm expecting some good things, because that match was absolutely fantastic. So many layers to break apart with two characters you almost never see anymore, with two masters behind the wheel. I mean, look, recipe for a great match, that is.
That really was. It was a nail biter for sure. Just from beginning to end, right? And we saw it, like, especially towards that zoning, like, full screen. Again, when you look at how it was being favorable, you would see that Baraka is the one that's probably the most because of the faster fireball, plus on top of the fact that Jax has to heat up arms in order to be able to do so, and that was causing trades that were not in favor. But just the slowing of the distance, getting it closer and closer, and all it took was just ducking the attempt of, I believe it was probably another command grab from Gollywomp, and instead just ready for it and able to get the Fatal Blow, which Jax's Fatal Blow is one of the best comebacks. One of the better ones, for sure.
It's so multi-layered. Like, we didn't even get to see the next layer of that. But we might do later, because that does confirm that Starks is moving on to the next round of the upper bracket, or winner's bracket, whatever you want to call it. Speaking of bracket, let's wind it in and talk about our next match. Actually, off stream, it appears that Stormbreaker defeated MB 2-0. So, sadly, that's the last we're going to be seeing of MB, but just wonderful to see you. Fancy kicks. Again, if you're watching this show, I tried both, so you can't say I didn't try. But it was a great display from that noob Cybot. Just sad to not see you get further on in the bracket, but Stormbreaker, that does mean that Kung Lao is still cooking off stream. Now, H-Dope versus MakoraN. That is going to be our next matchup, and these are two players that are much more familiar. And there are so many reasons for that. The big one being, for me, H-Dope and K-Top, legendary fighting game players. You know, they are legends in the making from their country of Greece. They started at a very young age, just passionate for fighting games. They are known mostly for Mortal Kombat and NetherRealm games in general, I suppose. However, their passion for fighting games has extended far beyond that. I've seen them play DNF, I've seen them play Tekken, I've seen them play other fighting games. Basically, if a new game comes out, they tend to get quite good at it. Shouts to the Greek seed, Nivek and the rest. Greece, like Italy, has a ton of talented NetherRealm players. But the opponent, MakoraN, you are about to see the world's best Scarlet.
Yep.
That is the way it is. This is not up for debate at this point. MakoraN has been around the longest, used the character the most, and has, in a competitive sense, taken it to some of the absolute best in the business. And I strongly think MakoraN is a tournament favourite today.
I couldn't agree more with you there. I think that it's actually, I feel Obi and MakoraN is like the two sides that I feel like I would hear mostly, with just how well that they performed in previous. And honestly, thanks to the PlayStation Fight Nights, this is how I got introduced to MakoraN. I did not know how good their Scarlet was until I started commentating on these consistently and just seeing their evolution from, you know, getting into the top 8, getting kind of eliminated between first to second round, and then slowly each month just improving again and again until I think there was even a recent win a couple of months ago. So it is going to be very exciting to see how they perform against one of, like you mentioned, the best players in Greece, and also a very seasoned fighting game player. And both of them are also seasoned in their own right. So this is going to be another extremely exciting match that on the EU side of things, I always enjoy watching both players play.
Now, I mean, full disclosure with H-Dope, I know that Spawn is the character icon, and Spawn is one of the characters that I would relate the most with H-Dope. But recently, I don't know how likely it will be that we see Spawn. I always hope that we do, because H-Dope has the execution for it, loves to play those almost monster-like characters. There's just some kind of pull towards those characters. Everyone kind of has a fighting game character they like. I like robots, for example. But I think a combination of most things, mostly being that H-Dope and K-Top, I don't know how much they're super grinding MK11 at the moment. I think they are kind of sitting tight and waiting for Mortal Kombat 1. We've seen a lot more Cetrion from H-Dope, and I don't know whether I'd consider it H-Dope's like new main, you know, quote unquote, but I feel like there are characters that are a bit simpler that can play just well enough on a fundamental level that H-Dope is kind of picking those characters instead. Which, you know, from a competitive sense, that's a smart decision. It means that a little bit less maintenance, perhaps. Some characters that are a little bit easier to get back into the swing of things with. But currently, given it a think. And it does look like it will be Cetrion again, which I was about to say sadly means we might not see Scarlet, because MakoraN tends to mirror match Cetrion players. As upsetting as that makes me.
Sometimes you have to make those hard decisions, right? Do you stay with the loyalty, or do you go with the, quite frankly, the better version of the character, right? And
that is true.
Just the stronger in tools. And that's something that I did remember seeing in, I want to say like in the last 2 months or so, of seeing MakoraN using Cetrion in some of these more difficult matchup spreads, right? You know, again, with Scarlet being the way she is, it can be a little bit tough against the goddess of nature herself. So this will be very interesting for MakoraN to definitely take out H-Dope, who, like you mentioned, was using Cetrion as more of like, this is going to probably be for competition. But what a great punish off of the rock wall. Very, very good awareness as well.
Look, I mean, I'm not going to take too much away from this matchup, but the reality is we've seen Cetrion mirror match probably 1,000 times. That's a nice KB launch. But I want to use this round as an opportunity to kind of mention something to upcoming competitive players. You know, if you like Mortal Kombat, or you like fighting games, if you're really looking forward to Mortal Kombat 1, which is not far away, I got to give you some advice. And one of the reasons we're seeing MakoraN play Cetrion here, being an absolute master of a certain character can sometimes include knowing when not to use that character in tournament. It's very easy to have a favourite character and use them through thick and thin. Bad matchups in them. However, when you are playing at the competitive level, when you're playing in a tournament in this kind of setting, there are some characters that will inevitably have difficult matchups. And your understanding of that character means that sometimes you have to be confident enough to understand that this is not the right time to pick. And that is an element of MakoraN that you're seeing here. If you're confident that you can play a character who is higher in the tier list, and that was disgusting, by the way, lovely. If you're confident that you can play a character that plays similar to your favourite and is better for certain matchups like this, do not be afraid to swap. I know, Cetrion mirror, you know, people complain about it and whatever else, but this is MakoraN doing the smartest thing. And look, one game down. I know we lost a whole game to my rant there, but I think it's important, right? Because Mortal Kombat 1's about to come out. We're going to see this a lot.
Not only that, you mentioned something that's like so true. You also have to remember, this is just round 1, and usually these tournaments take about 3 hours plus for online. Not to mention, if you go offline, they take way more, right? And you have to consider, you know, when you play that loyalty character in such a tough matchup, yes, you won, but did you really win with how like much stamina you had to go through because you had to outplay your opponent in like extra layers? Whereas for MakoraN, like you could see here, already dominating so strongly, where it's even making H-Dub kind of have to slow down and say, wait a minute, I kind of need to wake up and start actually paying attention to what MakoraN's doing. So, you know, it's one of those things that as you start off, like even for me, starting off as a newbie game fighting player, you want to play your favorite character, but if you really want to take that next level in competition, you have to also remember to yourself, how much trouble do you really want to go, or do you just want to play super solid so you could be happy at the end of that match?
I'm gonna be real, I would have liked to have seen Spawn from H-Dope here, because Spawn doesn't do terribly versus Cetrion. He has some of the highest, if not the highest, practical damage. And you're against a 950 health character. So, you know, there was a chance here to maybe go in with the Spawn again, who does a good job versus this character, can hit really, really hard, and it would have potentially, should the win have happened, forced MakoraN to change away, and then you end up with a very different matchup. The biggest thing is, H-Dope just needs to show that Cetrion can hang in the mirror. I think MakoraN is currently, I'm willing to bet this for sure, I think MakoraN is playing a lot more MK11 right now than H-Dope is. And this is where picking the safer character might have its hindrances, because you're going up against MakoraN, who, yes, is the best Scarlet player, but has an unbelievably good Cetrion, and is confident enough in the mirror to pick the character. And H-Dope is struggling against the mirror match. So then you find yourself having a new problem. And this is the problem that H-Dope is finding. I'm now getting mirrored, and I'm just not doing as good. So, at the end of the day, is Cetrion the right pick for this? I'm not 100% convinced, and that's a match point for MakoraN. A very comfortable one, if I might add.
Yeah, very comfortable. Also notice, too, that as H-Dope tries to zone with Cetrion, MakoraN's in, like, really good spacing, and this is something that, like, you're fighting against the player at this point, right? You're trying to take out the player who knows and is very much comfortable in this layer, whereas MakoraN is probably just playing the character against H-Dope. But this is a great teleport into the launcher. Now I'm not going to be able to get the breakaway, but we are going to see MakoraN go for the restand and into the throw for some zoning once again. Yep, there goes that Hellfire. and just trying to avoid the ground pound as MakoraN closes in.
Anything into Fatal Blow will now do it. So MakoraN, and actually H-Dope in return, there's going to be a lot of those standing strings, and you're just fishing for that hit. The second it connects, you're going to pull the trigger on Fatal Blow. Now the teleport out of the corner keeps you alive for now, backing off, and then going straight in again. This is going to be a game of who hits that first string. They're just daring each other. Almost gets the anti-air, the down 4 into the wind, push back to neutral, tries to react, cannot chase it down in time. Oh!
Goes the profile. 15 seconds on the clock as well between these two, and again, it's just one hit. Essentially, and this amplifier from MakoraN is gonna steal it. Was actually a little bit higher than H-Dope, and was able to let the extension from the meter burn hit H-Dope.
And that is a clean victory here for MakoraN. And, you know, I know I kind of ranted on about it during the match itself. Apologies, but obviously we've seen this mirror match of Cetrion 1,000 times over, so I think it was a bit more important to talk about what motivated the character choice and kind of the consequences of perhaps playing it too safe with characters sometimes. I do worry, especially later on, that Cetrion, she is obviously a really, really, really good character. But in tournament, I do not see as much of her at the highest caliber anymore. And I think there's an element there of, first of all, damage, and second of all, you have to be that, you know, I look at a player like Dragon, for example, who just had the lockdown on this character, just had the philosophy, the perfect playstyle, minimal mistakes. Sadly, in the final age of MK11, I do think there are some players that pick Cetrion for tier list reasons, and it's not enough. It's no longer enough to get that next gear shifted into. I think a character like Jackie maybe is a different story, but you know, when I look at these high-end tournaments and you see a lot of characters, I don't see Cetrion as much no more. I'm not saying that she's overrated or anything. I just think that you've got to do everything perfect. You know, there's no room for error. Anyway, let's take a look at the bracket and we'll have a look and see where the journey is. Although I think we already know. Our next round of winners bracket, Omi versus Murko, and then Starks versus MakoraN.
Honestly, Omi versus Murko is going to be pretty exciting because this is, I think, sort of like a rematch every time I see PlayStation Fight Nights. It's usually around this area. And then Starks with that incredible Jax that was in probably one of our favorite matches of today versus MakoraN. It's going to be very exciting to see who's going to make it to the winners finals and who is going to be heading down to the lower side and having to do a little bit of extra legwork as they go through the losers round. And I kind of want to just touch back a little bit on the Cetrion discussion that you were mentioning while we got our next matches ready. You're absolutely correct. Cetrion is this character that, you know, at the higher level, you have to just understand how you become the player. You no longer become the character that they have to face. And MakoraN's a perfect example of that. And also, too, Jackie's another one of those characters as well that we're not really seeing as often as I would say, and especially on the NA side of things when it comes to this character. Even right now, we see Omi switching to the Sub-Zero. And it's not because of just strictly comfort. It's more of because at this point, you're trying to play against the players, and it's a little bit difficult than just relying on the character's tools and moveset.
Omi's going to have good buttons to challenge Scorpion. Omi's going to have big damage if a punish is landed on Scorpion. And I think that's one of the main reasons we see this here. You know, the classic, the two poster boys from back in the day, Scorpion and Sub-Zero once more. You know, I'm actually kind of curious to see what costumes these characters have in Mortal Kombat 1, because, you know, I see that Sub-Zero skin now and I'm like, oh yeah, cameo Sub-Zero, great. At least I'm sure I saw it in one trailer.
I think I saw it as well. I saw it too.
We saw Scorpion in the Link Way trailer. I know we saw that.
And here we have it with the movement from Murko. There goes the block. What a great stand forward to cause the breakaway. But Omi's going to block that overhead and get the throw. And the empty jump into another throw to really bait out what Murko's trying to do. Because we mentioned it before. Murko can be an anti-air god with his reactions.
Yeah, and if Murko gets a good call out on the empty jump, however, that's one of the highest damage anti-airs the character can have. And even there, just the confidence and knowing that Omi's not going to let that one rip, the restand. And that low was absolutely fishing for a Fatal Blow. When Murko sticks that low out with Fatal Blow ready, he is absolutely just looking for it to connect and then boom, let it go. However, potentially one hit. Omi, a little bit too eager to seal the deal, but Murko, do not confuse speed with impatience. That's one of the big takeaways when you fight Murko, that he can look really impatient and just get hit by random stuff, but at the end of the day, he's always looking for reactions. He will punish those, and he will wait for them in clutch opportunities. Kind of like that. Nice!
Flawless box, though, on Omi has been coming in very nicely, almost rivaling against what Murko's been trying to do. The whiff grab from the jump kick, and Omi once again going for that overeager slide, and Murko is just strictly waiting for it. Most of this match has been the punish off of that slide into the big damage that we see from Scorpion.
Nope. Right, didn't have the meter. No, you're completely correct. The reckless slides have been kind of the number one reason Omi is likely going to lose this game, and I guess we will be correct on that one. That is a risky play. Going up against someone like Murko, who is so heavily based around reactions and, I've got to say, gigantic punishes, especially with the Burning Spear active. If Scorpion lands a full combo when the Spear buff is active, that can actually sometimes be about 50% damage for 2 bars of meter, and we know Murko's got those. So if you're trying to slide, there was 3 slides that just got blocked and punished there. That's, that's at least 1 life bar's worth of damage on that alone. And it's 2 life bars for a game, right? So it's just, the maths don't look so good for the Sub-Zero that slide too much. Well, with that, I think in this next match, we'll probably see things change up a little bit.
Definitely. Omi probably will be slowing the game down just a little bit more. And that's the thing about Murko, right? Is we were talking about his patience. But once he starts getting into your head, you're starting to play his game plan. And right now, it looks like trying to be the more wild Sub-Zero in this equation may not be the best for Omi. So it's going to take a little bit of that slowing down nature and almost freezing time a little bit. Tried to put in like a dad pun there and actually get through. But we do have this slide that's going to be the first loading of the crushing blow. Omi will need 2 more in order to gain access to it.
Lovely reaction on the teleport as well. Knowing that from the base hit of the teleport, you don't really have much to fear. So even if Scorpion cancels it, if he tries to cancel into a button, down 1 can grant you a turn and say, not quite, you've got to be a bit more patient than that. So tease it, looks in for some kind of anti-air, but almost hesitates last minute, which allows it to jump and slide up and select to hit its mark in the corner positioning. There's the immediate throw escape. Wow, just lets that 1-1-2 rock by itself. And this time, we're still doing pokes into slide. It's just thankfully, in this instance, it worked out. But we're still doing it, and that makes me a little bit nervous. We'll see if it works. We'll see if it works.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've been a little bit nervous off of some of those pokes, but at least we're also seeing some of the jump kicks actually being hit confirmed into slide. So there's actually more damage, and where we're actually seeing coming from Omi's end. Even like a 1 or 2 overheads, but there goes this crushing blow from Murko. We're going to get the restand, going to walk up a little bit, but only reacting with the throw escape. And there's that crushing blow being used up. Actually was able to get the 3 loaded slides. And now this is a good chance for Omi to start implementing, but no, Murko is actually going to go again for these restands. Hasn't been too successful on hits, as Omi's been ready for them.
Feels like Murko's been leaving quite a lot of damage on the table, and I have to say, Omi has been proving me wrong so far that, in the last game, poke into slide wasn't working. The 2 we've seen now have worked a charm, especially with the second one giving the crushing blow. Goes in for the throw. The escape was just the wrong direction, expected something else. And, I think that was a slide punish attempt. That would have been the end of the game. Wow. Okay. Interesting game, that. I think Omi was continuing the extremely unsafe style, but I almost got the impression that Murko, especially after game 1, might have expected a more reserved Omi in that match, and that's just not what we got, and dare I say, might have actually caught Murko off guard, along with us as well, I suppose.
One of those moments where you're like, okay, I've already conditioned the opponent. Nope, did not condition them. Not 1 minute, actually. Not one
That's
moment
what I want
where
you
they
to
actually
think.
condition. And I think that's that classic case right here. Is Omi just said, you know what, I'm just gonna keep with the game plan. What's the worst that's gonna happen? I'm just gonna keep getting hit. And instead, I also think too that Murko may have to be implementing a little bit more damage, even if it's at the risk of, you know, not getting those restands and creating those situations. You're already on game 3, right? You definitely don't want to be left without damage against now this wild playstyle, if we call it wild, from Omi, or unsafe rather, better said. So it might be that we just need to see Murko implement a little bit more damage here instead of going for the reset situations.
That's definitely a big takeaway from what Murko did in that final game, or last game, sorry, this is the final game. It's just going for a lot of those restands into grab or something else with delayed back 3. It just didn't work, right? And if it doesn't work, well, we're going to try something that does. In this case, we'll try and get a bit more damage, perhaps. The instant jump out, Omi almost instantly puts Murko in the corner and actually baits out some kind of button or a jump or something. And that's going to be a full combo into a forced breakaway. No breakaway versus sub in the corner is miserable. Thankfully, though, for Murko, the combo was dropped and actually punished it in return. Surely we have to spend a bar of meter. Yeah, keep them in the corner. Let's the teleport rip! What is going on?
This is a bit of a scramble as these two are trying to trade blows and get out of this corner, but Murko keeps backing a little bit, again trying to create the spacing that we know from Scorpion. But Omi, not in Fatal Blow territory just yet. It's really more Murko that needs that one hit to hit confirm. No jump kick to hit off of there, but now that down 2 coming through. And this is pretty scary here from both of these players. Murko just getting the first defensive bar, so can probably take a hit, but there goes the slide from blocking the Scorpion Spear. And right now we could be on potential point for Omi.
And there's the punish on the landing. Omi doing a fantastic job so far. And Murko looking a little bit flustered, dare I say overwhelmed, and that's rare. You know, we don't see Murko have to deal with that all so often, but Omi has just had the #1 read every single time. Hasn't really been caught out by anything, hasn't been caught by any teleports, hasn't really been whiff punished, doesn't challenge the anti-air, right? Keeps himself nice and grounded, goes in for a mix-up, and now we do see some kind of damage on the board. And 2 bars spent. Murko, we're going to squeeze out as much as possible. The match is at stake at this point. Omi's the one on match point with punish, but no meter to really capitalize. Looks in for 2-1. Another jump. This time didn't do the spear option select. That could have actually been the game or the round. Empty jump low. All right, match point both players. Here we go. It's getting real now.
Another intense and stressful match between these two legendary characters and also players as well. It seems also now Murko's starting to kind of pull together and actually wake up with a little bit more of like, okay, I need to get this damage out now, and I need to play a little more solid here, start implementing some of my own pressure. But Omi winning the air-to-air and forcing Murko with the breakaway. Great throw tech, and this is just going to be Omi able to get the overhead on that punish as well. And this is going to be big damage because, again, Murko doesn't have that breakaway, so that is a free crushing blow for Omi.
Omi has just had the read on when Murko's going to press these buttons. Like the wake-up jumps, the too much use of down 4, and that's why the forward 2 completely blew it up just then. However now, wait a minute, change of momentum. A full combo. Empty jumps. Maybe that big neutral jump perhaps too obvious and might have been a flawless block anti-air. Either way, though, Omi's been able to fight his way out of the corner and Murko down to a last chance. A punish. All of this unbreakable. It's going to do a ton of damage, but I'm not convinced it's going to do enough to kill. This is going to set up for one touch on basically both sides.
Here it goes. This is now the full screen range. There goes the block. But the air-to-air is on Murko's side. Actually has not been the winner of most of them, but wins this last air-to-air interaction to clutch out this game and head to winners finals.
I mean, that's just fitting, isn't it? Is that you lose every air-to-air in the entire series, but the one you finally win is the one that secures you the game. But it was A comeback that had to be earned more than just a single hit. You know, Murko got the button press. I believe it was back 1-4. There was some kind of punish there, or maybe just caught Omi pressing a button. Fatal blow into last touch will do it. And just more composed, ready for the jump in, and bet everything. Both players bet it all on that jump, but in this case, it's going to be the Scorpion moving forward. But we've seen Omi a million times here on PlayStation tournaments. A high chance we can see Omi in that grand finals, you know, run it back in the lower bracket, win the lower bracket final, get the run back if the opponent that beat you made it through winner's side. So there's a chance, a solid chance we'll see Omi again.
Absolutely, and honestly, that wasn't a bad performance at all from Omi. Just able to tie it up and then go into that final game, final round. I think we'll definitely be seeing more of Omi, especially considering that he has a plethora of characters ready to go through. We've already seen the Jackie and we've already seen the Sub-Zero, right? So it's going to be fun to see. And now, of course, we have Murko in Winners Finals. That Scorpion still clutching it out from all the way. And then, of course, we'll also probably see a little bit of an update on our bracket in just a short moment. But it is going to be MakoraN versus Starks. And I'm actually very excited to see this match because this is Starks, the Jax, that really has impressed us here tonight. And then an update down on the lower side of the bracket. So H-Dope was able to defeat Gollywomp 2-1. Very close game, it seems like. And will now be facing against Omi. So this is a match that unfortunately we won't be able to see off or on stream. It'll be happening off stream. But it just goes to show that some of the names that we've kind of expected to really progress through this bracket, they're going head to head and really trying to make it to grand finals.
I gotta say, if that matchup was what I think it was, and it was 2-1, that means that Gollywomp was able to at least get a win in the Cetrion matchup with Baraka, so that in its own right was quite impressive. But no, H-Dope will be moving forward to face against Omi, and as you said, we'll not be seeing it, but we'll find out who the winner is, and as soon as we know, we'll let you know who makes it into top 4. Remember, folks, top 4 gets paid today, so that's the first objective. Now, Starks versus MakoraN. This is one of those matchups where MakoraN could very much go back to Scarlet, because if we're looking at potential characters, I've seen MakoraN pick Scarlet the most. There has been Cetrion, there has been a little sprinkling of Nightwolf in there. Stark's character team is always Jax first, and then I think we've seen Raiden in the past, we've seen a Sub-Zero from Starks, but that star character has always been the Jax, and it actually looks like these are the two characters we see, so this could be a very good match.
Indeed. I'm almost wondering if Starks does lose this, if we're going to see the Raiden, because Raiden also does really well against some of the zoners in this game. But regardless, we have the Jax versus Scarlet, and already starting off with the low poke off of the round start. And now it's going to be up to MakoraN actually having the parry ready to go just in case Starks tries to go for flawless blocks.
It's the evolution of the Scarlet meta. The parry is used almost exclusively to bait out a flawless block, and when you play Scarlet for as long as MakoraN has, you end up getting kind of sixth sense for it. Now, tries to go in for the boiling point, there's the breaker. The aggressive push is made now by Starks. Has to give up the turn though, to respect it. There's the piece-by-piece nature of MakoraN, being able to just heal up every single time you land one of those grounded hits. Nothing your opponent's going to do, and it's just going to make that divide between health so much bigger. Now, there is a breaker available. MakoraN will spend it, and the meaty grab. We're establishing mix-up early, and actually, a bit more push here from Starks. Tries to punish.
Yeah, I also see the almost expecting Starks to press after some of the strings. It knows that they're kind of safe, but also understanding that this is Starks trying to poke back and take pressure. And that is something that Jax does really well, is taking the trades and capitalizing off of them. Gets the down 2 off of the breakaway to get max damage, even though it was the breakaway, and then a down 1 to seal it out. And there we have it with the round going to MakoraN.
Yeah, that round was guaranteed, regardless of the breakaway or not. The breakaway was used, and then you got nothing to defend against the inevitable meaty pressure to take away your chip. And that is a massive whiff punish on the grenade launcher. Boiling point, you kind of blink and you've missed shy of 30% health gone just like that. And actually, opts not to spend it this time. Can't punish the overhead. There was certainly an attempt made, and actually, like maybe there might have been something else bettered as well. A clean anti-air, there goes another boiling point, amplify, and that's the end of the game. Scarlet damage, never underestimate it.
That's one of her best moves. I feel like they gave access to her for especially customs. It's such a good low, on top of the fact that, again, like you mentioned, the damage off of it really helps out when you take a look at how, like, there was a good chunk on Starks' health, and it just went away thanks to that metered boiling point.
So, a rather clean game one there from MakoraN. And I guess it does make us wonder, character change or no? It is going to be the exact same here. Is it the same variation though? No, that was either just taking some time or actually considering maybe going with a different variation. But nope, looks like we're going straight back in. And it was a good fight there from Starks, I have to say. It's just MakoraN has that mid-screen locked down. It's just how he's always played. It's how the Scarlet can thrive in a matchup like this. Starks just has to make it extra count, you know, when you get close range. It's what Jax is entirely built around. Certainly winning no projectile trades in this matchup.
Yeah, that's the one thing about Jax is you can't be losing projectile trades. And also, I think the biggest weakness is if someone can counter your mid-screen, that kind of defeats and takes away your game plan and your advancement. And that's something that Scarlet does really well, right? She dominates that mid-screen. She has both projectiles that are really good, and with a player like MakoraN really ready to also anti-air and capitalize on every single thing. Great defense right now from MakoraN. Not going to be able to punish off with that duck. Gonna jump, not getting anything off of the empty jump, but we do have the throw to push Starks closer to the corner. And again, this range that we see on Scarlet is just perfect for her because she can whip punish like we just see there, and then continue her pressure and just also gain health back slowly where your health is gone and it's all on her.
Yep. It may as well just be a bigger damage combo, because what does a combo do at the end of the day? It creates a divide between your health bar and your opponents. If he's healing and you're not, then that's kind of equalizing to be the same amount. Speaking of damage, here comes quite a lot of it. There's now the meaty pressure on the wake up, that meaty neutral jump. Starks has just, the second you're backed against the corner, has had such a hard time. And there's a whiff punish. The breakaway finally comes back just at the right time. And this is a last chance. Lets it go. Tries to build up some offense. Oh, just lets MakoraN jump out of the corner like that. The problem back to being mid-screen is that all it takes is that one opportunity for MakoraN to be further away. And that will change the whole game.
What amount of damage here
Hang on.
from Starks. This is very close right now. It could be either or's game, essentially. And we have the low ground pounds. Going to short hop it off of the second one. And this is, yep,
wow.
There goes that heated punch right there. The projectile Starks actually backing up just a little bit to catch MakoraN. And we're tied up in this game.
That was a absolutely incredible comeback. And it was one that was not built around giant combos. It was just keeping yourself composed.
And that's one thing that we've learned. But there goes that parry, actually catching the wake up 3. And already MakoraN back at full health thanks to that parry. Amping it for the health regain. He's going to try to get the jump, but does get knocked down. And here's some of the stagger pressure that we see from MakoraN. Tries to get the down 3. There goes the forward 4 into the boiling point. I'm going to put max damage, 27%. Very nicely done. Actually teleporting in the corner to close in on the distance. There goes the time interactable. Stopping time. Unfortunately, not going to get the full damage combo, and Starks is going to win the air-to-air to probably push MakoraN into this corner for the restand. And there goes that overhead, where it is getting dicey, but MakoraN's going to stay alive!
Oh, we saw the individual overhead, but that was all she wrote, because all it took after that was one turnaround. MakoraN takes it, and overall, that was a really, really good second game, but just wasn't quite enough to prevent the 2-0. Well played from Starks, I got to say. I'm never going to get tired of watching just a Jax of that caliber, and Starks definitely providing that. But MakoraN will be moving on, which does lead into a winners finals that, truth be told, was my prediction, was that we would see Murko versus MakoraN. We've seen this matchup between them quite a lot in the past. Like I've said, they're no strangers to the PlayStation tournaments. They're no strangers to fighting against each other, whether it's in tournament, whether it's in exhibitions, whether it's just ranked matches like Combat League. They've fought against each other countless times, so rather positive. That matchup is going to be kind of ridiculous. So let's take a look at the bracket then. We'll see where the journey will take us throughout the day. Stormbreaker versus Starks will be happening off stream, as is Omi versus H-Dope as we speak. And for anyone that's a fan of any of those players, whoever wins their next match in lower bracket makes it into top 4. So that's where not only they're now in the money, but we will be seeing them on stream again.
Indeed, indeed. And honestly, what a great bracket it's been so far. Very exciting matches to definitely be taken into consideration. I believe we, though, will be taking a quick break before we head into those matches. Just as a reminder, of course, you can always compete at compete.playstation.com. You can sign up on desktop, mobile, even on your consoles as well with the PlayStation tournaments. So don't forget, again, you can have your chance here on the PlayStation Fight Nights, just having a chance like these players do. And again, we'll be taking that quick break before we continue on for our second half, where it's all going to be some insane money matches.
Gaming is defined by moments.
It is intense.
The joy of victory and the thrill of overcoming challenges. Welcome to our home of competitive gaming, where we can all experience exciting esports moments
The final 1v1 of the game here.
and celebrate the pros and the rising stars,
I do want to see a female in the NCS.
bringing you guides and deep dives
Horizon can go up, but she can't go up fast.
and tournaments where the community competes.
Wait! Did he go? No way!
Whether you're in a heated match
Bang! Let's go!
or watching along at the edge of your seat,
A duo! Taking down a trio!
let's create moments from the games you love.
I'll take it!
Join us and subscribe to our channel to follow everything esports on PlayStation.
Welcome back, everybody, to our latest edition of the Fight Nights Mortal Kombat 11 edition. My name is Ketchup, joined by Saki Sakura, and what you just saw there is PlayStation Esports. Where do you go to find out more about that? youtube.com/PlayStation Esports. It has match footage, it has guides, tutorials, player interviews, a little something for everybody, I think, is fair to say. So, if you like what you see, check out the YouTube underneath your screen. It's all there. Find out and have a good time. Now, we've been having a wonderful time because we are over halfway through this tournament now, and we are down to our final select few players. We're finding out what the top 4 is going to be in due time, and that's where the money is. And now we're about to go into our winners bracket finals between Murko and MakoraN. And as you can see, our top 4 is officially decided. Stormbreaker took it against Starks, and Omi conquered H-Dope 2-0. So this is your top 4.
Ooh, it's awesome to see Stormbreaker really making this loser's comeback, essentially. Was eliminated by Omi round 1, and now gets to face off, and we'll be actually able to see that match after we view Murko versus MakoraN. So that is going to be quite, I would say, almost like a revenge match if you think about it. So quite the story there. And then, of course, Omi taking it over H-Dope. More than likely, that was the... I want to say it might have been either the Jackie or the Sub-Zero, because those two would definitely fit against H-Dope's Cetrion if that was used. So, good matches coming up, Ketchup. I can't wait.
They always are. That's what I love about the PlayStation tournaments, is that we've come to get so familiar with these players, especially from a European side. As a biased European commentator, you always love to see it, and very excited to see what happens with Mortal Kombat 1 from a European standpoint, because there's so many players dedicated to characters and creative with their play styles and tech and everything else that that next chapter in the history books is going to be quite something. However, a chapter that's been written many, many times over is Murko versus MakoraN. I have lost count of how many times I've commentated these two going head-to-head, and it does tend to be just up in the air all the time. You never really know who's going to win out of these two. But one thing that is rather common is the Scarlet versus the Scorpion. I generally can't remember the last time they picked other characters in this matchup. However, it looks like Murko has gone in. If I recognize his costume, this is the Searing Rage, which means we're going to have no teleport cancel, but a lot more up-close tools. So yeah, Burning Spear, Death Spear combo, and the Death Spin. This is something Murko has often used against Scarlet quite a lot in the past, actually.
I agree, and I think part of the reason is because just the amount of damage that you can get, plus the chip out situation. Murko does an amazing job with the Death Spear to just be able to close out games in checkmate situations. And almost, again, the way you kind of see both of these players play and the reactions on Murko, you're either hit confirming with teleport or you're using the teleport as the Whip Punisher tool. So, not surprising. This is going to be a little bit tough for MakoraN, but like you mentioned, this is a match that we see time and time again. And it really comes down to who's playing against each other better. And there's that Death Spear with the buff as well, 36%, and already putting MakoraN in like 20% HP.
One thing we haven't seen yet, but rest assured you will do, and something that I've only... Micro Duck was disgusting. Something that only Murko does with this variation is the 2-1, 2+4, the extra string that has the extra ender. it changes the up-close game quite a lot, actually, because 2-1 is already plus with Scorpion, and then you have the extra hit, which is given to you by this variation. On hit, knocks down, does really good damage, and on block is kind of an extra added attack on block that you're not used to. It's really hard to explain, but sure, no doubt Murko will show it in action at some point. Like, there it is right there. It gives you something on block to worry about that you're not used to defending against. So Murko's rushdown game becomes insane, really, because there you go, 2-1 into overhead. MakoraN's expecting the final string, which allows the overhead to come out. There's the boiling point, though, and we're going to put him in the corner, try and win the round from that.
At least with Murko, there is still a potential. I do see some of these flawless blocks happening, but like we saw before, MakoraN's definitely trying to prepare for those flawless block attempts with the parry. And it's more of Murko identifying, okay, when does the parry come out and when can I actually try to take my turn back? But this is going to be MakoraN's round pretty much. Going to get the boiling point, use the meter to close out the game. And 38% from Scarlet. I want to talk to the person who says that she doesn't have damage. That was a lot of damage.
It's got to be good enough to do it consistently, didn't you? That's the difference. And in this case, tries to go for the combo ender there. A little bit too far away. However, the short hop into overhead now, blocking the wake up. Murko back against the corner, and it looks like we're going to have a change of fate. The side switching teleport's going to do it. We end the combo with the 2+4, get that knockdown. Allow Scorpion to push forward once again. 2-1, 2-1 into the ender. Just like that, 20%, and we can start to pressure the opponent for another time. Unfortunately, though, MakoraN, oh, 2 projectiles back-to-back, and both of which are going to heal him. MakoraN has stolen the lead away.
Murko not too, well, actually very close to Fatal Blow. It's one chip situation, and now a lead to Murko being able to get the hit confirmed. There goes the counter, but not being able to continue the damage. There goes Fatal Blow going off and ready to be used at Murko's mercy, essentially. And it's MakoraN that's going to have to play. Gets hit by the interactable, and now it's one hit confirmed from either players that can seal this deal. Goes to down one. Great throw tech from MakoraN, guessing correctly and not letting Murko load up on that crushing blow from the throw. Murko's getting hit by these down one checks quite a bit from MakoraN, and it's good as well. There goes the plus, but on the flawless block, 8 seconds on the clock, and it is literally anyone's game.
Get back in!
Overhead.
No! No!
Oh my god!
Oh my good lord! Alright, so let's break that down. Right at the last minute, that overhead to knock Scorpion out of the air, but then Murko betting it all on the wake up 3, which, to be fair, worked. And I would like to remind everyone, or let everyone know actually, winners finals, this is best of 5. So that was just game 1. There's potentially 4 more of those to go.
Ooh, so many games left for both of these players, but what a great start there from Murko to start it off with the first game in his favor. That was quite a scramble, I would almost say. It was a great usage of the overhead from MakoraN, but just playing it and actually probably attempting a meaty situation. Instead, could have just held the block button and avoided the up 3 and let the time run out. Because MakoraN was the one with the bigger chunk of health. Not as big of a chunk as you would want to be safely put, but definitely was going to be able to hold onto the chip from the wake up 3.
You know what, though? And I don't want to be like the master of hindsight and be like, you're just going to say that because... But genuinely... The up 3 or a button on wake up was so likely. I was half expecting Murko to do wake up throw because he was expecting MakoraN to wait for the inevitable wake up attack. Like, that's how far in these two players are with their experience of each other in a competitive setting. However, obviously didn't quite go that far. There's the punish and a boiling point just to get extra damage before you touch the floor. It's always more damage than you're expecting to receive, just shy of 30% for that alone. And now MakoraN establishing good control in the mid-screen. Lets the low rip a little bit too late, right as a jump comes out there from Murko. However, looks like we're back to a pretty even situation. And actually, the interruption on the 2-1-2. I'm surprised, actually, because 2-1-2+4 would have beat that. So that's a hard read.
Yeah, that's one of those situations you were mentioning earlier about the usage of that extended string. It creates the mind game where... you know, even if the Scorpion tries to stagger the 2-1-2, there's still that, like, scariness from it. We do have MakoraN though loading up. I think that was an escape failed, so has the crushing blow loaded up in case they need it, and goes up the round as well.
Both players pretty decent on the meter department, too offensive. That down 4 has been a bit of a miracle button for Murko in this round so far. Just trying to create some plus frames, a little bit of pushback towards the corner perhaps. However, watch your toes, because there's MakoraN. You get hit by a single button, that's an unbreakable 28% with your name on it. Another neutral jump. Oh, anti-air though!
So good right there from Murko, waiting for the jump kick. And like you mentioned before, that low kick has been a great button for Murko to just really stop the progression from MakoraN and even interrupt on some cases. A nice anti-air, but the follow spot up 3 rather is gonna catch MakoraN off guard. And now Murko, waiting patiently, tries to whip punish, successful on that whip punish, and then goes for the restand for the down 1 checks. And this is the stagger, and like you mentioned, the extended string coming out at the end as well.
It totally changes the matchup up close. Or, not necessarily the matchup, but it just changes how you have to defend against this character. And that's now Murko understanding that there's no way you can escape the death spin amplify, so we'll take that into a free round and now bring us into an opportunity for Murko to create that gap and make it even bigger than it was before.
There goes bowling point. Ooh, catching it, Murko off guard. And that was actually a great usage of canceling into that special. And that's where you start seeing MakoraN change a little bit up the style just a bit. You already understand that Murko's trying to get their turn back in those situations. And MakoraN's just trying to adapt to Murko's attempts. And these staggers, though, really making MakoraN guess a little bit on when to take the turn.
With every single hit that's landing, though, it's getting more and more dangerous because MakoraN is getting closer and closer to the corner. We're going to have that room to back away. Speaking of which, trying to fight back with the range button, but it's not going to work out yet, and the escape failed was set up, which means damage over time. And actually, this is a variation where damage over time is not your best friend, because now we are entering death spin territory.
Some of these lows have to come into play. There goes the wake up, the follow spot up 3 rather, and now it's going to throw Murko into the corner. Now Murko has the buff, so that's not a good time.
You're dead.
Yep.
The moment that got blocked, the game was over, and MakoraN knew it. In fact, I actually think that's why there was a flawless block attempt out of that button, because it was so likely that Murko was going to do that, that my only way to survive at that distance is to flawless block and maybe punish. I think the up 3 wasn't going to cut it. I think the up 2 might have been the attempt there, and Scarlet's, while it has a good hitbox for some things, it doesn't in other areas. It's a little bit unreliable in some matchups from what I've seen. The million times it's whiffed for poor old MakoraN. But 2-0 for Murko now. This variation is putting in the work. I'm loving it.
This is, I feel, one of the variations that I usually see Murko on. If it's not a character spread that's like based on like the Hell Teleport cancels. And it's strictly because, again, you have that death spin that just does so well in like these checkmate situations, plus the buff. It just works out really, really well. And one other thing too is you can tell with the extended stream with that Death Spear combo, you don't have to be as heavy on meter usage, because you're still getting a good amount of damage with those extended streams. Even without
teleport cancel, though, Murko got those reactions, and that's the confidence in him. Tries going for a grab, but I think MakoraN was fully prepared for that to whiff the way it did. But Murko, momentum is on his side. Oh, that whiff! Doesn't commit, though. Doesn't commit. That would have been half damage. Actually, I think there's still a chance for half damage. Oh, no, it's only 44%. Only 44%. Terrible damage. Oh, overhead!
Oh my gosh.
Murko baits the roll. Oh! Partying a bit too hard, maybe?
MakoraN trying to dominate the corner here. Not going to be able to get the 2. There goes the plus frames. kick on the low from Murko. Again, that miracle button just stopping MakoraN from advancing, but has to get out of this corner, or this could be MakoraN's round very quickly, especially with one hit confirmed. You have to be careful from the way it's...
Did you see? Did you see the vacuum effect? She pulled him in after that connected. And I gotta say, MakoraN with the nerves of steel right there, because the distance he was standing was just outside of down 4 and forward 3 range, because there was a death spin buffered on top of every single one of those buttons. 100%. And MakoraN still made it work.
That has to be my favorite just interaction out of tonight's broadcast.
I mean,
But
we've had a
let's see.
fair share, so that one has to work hard to take that title.
And we see Murko getting these overheads. There goes the spin now. Because it's full screen, there's not really much that MakoraN can do to punish it. That gets the short hop to avoid the parry. A great throw tech. The stub on the down 3, but Murko's going to be able to close in and clean up this round. And we might be seeing potentials at point here from Murko, who actually didn't lose a lot of health there, has been mostly from the small trades and pokes that MakoraN's been able to get.
The fear of that death spin has been severe when things get really, really close. You know, that's why MakoraN was caught trying to jump out of that corner in that situation. Goes in for the forward throw, the less likely throw option to defeat. So that was a really good decision there from Murko. Shoutouts to Mortal Kombat Deception in the background. I was always more of an Armageddon fan myself. Shoutouts to Air Combat and Mortal Kombat 1. But the teleport as well. Doesn't have the meter though. No, he did. He just didn't spend it. What the heck?
The boiling point really putting out 24%, and then trying to get the forward 2 to hit confirm into the blood ball, but it's just a little too slow. Now there goes that forward.
Oh!
Oh!
That could have been so much more. MakoraN. A rare drop. Uh-oh. Fatal blow. I'm looking at that fatal blow. I'm eyeing it up. Oh, challenging you to press. MakoraN with the defense. Excuse me.
Oh, there goes the flawless block from Murko. It's going to create a little bit of spacing. It's getting closer and closer to the corner. Has to be a bit careful.
That's it. No!
Oh,
Didn't
no!
dedicate!
Go
Murko
for
did
the
not
grab.
dedicate.
The
Oh!
short hop again to avoid the parry. And there
You're
goes
dead.
the death spin into...
No!
Kill!
No! One
Oh!
hit short! One hit short! Murko misjudged the chip by one single hit and lost the game for it. Oh, today is going to give me a heart attack. We can't keep having games like this.
This is only the start of our top 4, and we're already having heart attacks on these games.
I blame them. It's all their fault. Murko, though, that was such a good idea as well, is to go for the most unpredictable. I think it was some kind of empty jump or something, that all ye needed was genuinely one more hit.
Yep.
One more hit, and the game would be his. Guaranteed second place, at least. Grand finals, a shot at getting number 1. And MakoraN staying alive by the skin of his teeth. But that is a shift of momentum. This could be the shift that MakoraN needs to win these next 2 games and bring Scarlet into grand finals.
A couple of misjudgments there too, especially off of the last 2 interactions in that last game, right? We had that low and it could have been a fatal blow, and then of course the death spin just not reaching because there was just not enough hits to it. But once again, we'll see how this works out for Murko. And using again the death spin, this is on full range, so MakoraN's going to have a tough time to even try to attempt to punishing it. Has to be closer, like we saw in that last interaction from the last round.
Yeah, we saw MakoraN kind of try out the boiling point just in case, but that obviously wasn't fast enough. However, none of that matters at the moment, as a full punish and a full combo here from MakoraN, and loads of damage into corner positioning. Looks like now the block on the overhead, being able to take a turn. Delicious, flawless block on that forward 3-4, not letting you get away with anything. And MakoraN, the meaty down 1. That's one thing that can actually be a detriment to Murko. Can sometimes be a little bit too low poke happy on that old down 1. And MakoraN doing it 3 times, almost a bit of a challenge to say, no, I know what you're doing. I'm showing you a little bit of your own medicine here.
It's always great to have Scorpions taste a taste of their own medicine when it comes to their down ones and repetition of it. Murko, though, slowly getting out of this corner. Now, one thing I've been seeing here from MakoraN is, one, blocking those overheads and even interrupting them as well, which really actually affects the game plan that Murko has been trying to do with those overheads. MakoraN being really the only player in this bracket to really pay attention to it and actually understand what Murko's trying to do. Was that an instant teleport off of the whiff grab?
It was, because I guess Murko must have been confident in the range that I'm able to disappear before your button comes out. And that can be an interesting challenge with Scorpion players. Looks like absolute suicide sometimes, and in some cases it is. But here, it didn't matter in the end anyway, because look at that. In what feels like half the time, MakoraN has been able to equalize and bring us into a final match. And I wish I could say this is the first time it's ever happened, but it actually tends to be more the opposite. They have so many Game 5s that go this way that I have been surprised by absolutely none of it.
Nope, and we are just going into that Game 5, and that's the beauty of having these amount of games, especially towards the end of the bracket, right? You have enough games to adapt. MakoraN is showing that apart from that scramble in, I want to say, Game 3, we're really going full head and full steam to adapt and show that they are ready for Murko, and adapting extremely well, too.
They always say, know your enemy, and I think that this is just personified best with these two, because I cannot understate how many times they fought each other. In PlayStation tournaments, in community tournaments, in ranked matches, basically, you name it. And they've played countless times in it. So it does create this game-by-game idea where it is all about the next adaptation, the next surprise you might have for someone. One of the big changes here is that MakoraN has put less focus in that mid-screen. Somehow still had time for that down two. That was one of the latest uppercuts I've ever seen. But is actually being more proactive on the offense. Is giving it to Murko. Is being the one actually making Murko have to be defensive, and we didn't see that in the first two matches.
Well, we were seeing more of Murko playing his game, and so far it's been a lot of MakoraN playing their game first before Murko gets a chance. But we do see the interactable going to be used here. This is probably one of the best interactables on this stage, especially with the amount of damage it can just push out. Once again, the down one check to stop MakoraN from backdashing. And ready for the stand one to flawless block and get the up three as well.
In these situations, in a game as tense as this, they are both wanting to steal back that next turn. They want to be the one to get that button out there, which is why these defensive flawless blocks into up three, especially from Murko, are so common. Because look, your opponent's on the verge of making this reverse sweep comeback against you. You have to be able to match that pace. It's like I said at the start of the day. If you're playing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, the opponent has to adapt. But the moment they do, you have to shift gear again. And some players can't do that. Murko very much showing that he can in this instance, but no flawless block on the forward 3-4. I imagine MakoraN may have expected just the forward 3 by itself. Get off me, stop these throw attempts. Too far away! No second hit.
So
Anti-air!
And we are going to get the crushing blow. This is going to do some burn damage as well. And Murko pushing MakoraN into the fatal blow, winning the air-to-air, forcing the breakaway. This could be it if Murko is able to get that one hit in. Has the meter to do it.
Wow!
MakoraN getting hit by the wake up of 3.
Punish!
Punish! No! And MakoraN staying alive. Now this won't kill, I believe. It does a lot of damage.
It's hard to say. It's Scarlet Fatal Blow.
I know. It's like, yeah, okay.
Ooh, not enough,
I figured.
not enough.
Just a bit. But there goes the death spin. And the teleport with Murko staying alive.
Death spin at range into teleport. You would have had to have been a complete mind reader to, after getting your fatal blow, think, right, now my opponent is going to death spin, and after the death spin, they're going to do an instant teleport. So even though I've got all the momentum, I'm going to sit here for the 5 or 6 seconds that's going to take and just do nothing. I don't think any player out there would have, off that momentum, sat and done nothing. which is why Murko's final play was so disgustingly good, but also the most egregious case of robbing the momentum. That was the moment for MakoraN to bring it back. And Murko just went, no, actually, I'm going to teleport and I'm going to win. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That was an insane attempt from MakoraN. Now, while Murko will pretty much get guaranteed either first or second, but definitely guaranteed top 2, that does put MakoraN in the lower side of the bracket, as they'll definitely be having to wait in the losers finals of things in order to get the rematch against Murko. But what two insane players. Like, again, that was a really good potential of a pretty much a 3-0 comeback, but Murko just said, nope, I'm going to slow things down and we're going to play our game plan. And like you said, just stopping the momentum that MakoraN had. But speaking of some revenge matches, I believe our next match is going to be Omi versus Stormbreaker. Now, if you weren't here earlier and you're just tuning in, Stormbreaker actually lost against Omi 2-0 and has been on this losers run since losers round 1. So has had a lot of games compared to Omi to make it back here.
We have a little bit of information to work with off this matchup. We know that when they fought in winners, it was Kung Lao versus Jackie. I'm going to assume that Stormbreaker's lower bracket run has been with the Kung Lao. It was an interesting variation. It was the Z-Hat, but it was also Spiritual Guidance as the special move that can give Kung Lao various combo tools, various range tools, kind of a little bit of everything, I suppose. But when we saw it against Omi, there was no opportunity to really show us any of it. Reason being that Omi picked Jackie in this matchup, and the Jackie just overwhelmed for 2 straight games. Now, there is a chance that may happen again, but Stormbreaker might be feeling a little bit more of the heat this time, and maybe there's an element of being able to hit that next layer, that next level that we didn't quite see in the first match of the day. But this will be our final best of 3 of the day. After this, we go into lower bracket finals, where the winner of this match moves on to fight MakoraN, and that will be 3 out of 5, as well as grand finals to be 3 out of 5 also. So this could be quite a quick one. It depends on whether Stormbreaker can bring it back, unlike what we saw in the first game.
I'm almost curious if Omi will be remaining with the Sub-Zero instead, and just kind of, since we've already seen, right, the experience that the Jackie had against the Kung Lao. That was Omi's start. Nope, we're just going to go back to Jackie. And actually, I think this is Stormbreaker on Sub-Zero.
It is.
If I'm not mistaken. Yes, and it's actually mentioned that Sub-Zero is the secondary for Stormbreaker.
Well, we'll see. If the opportunity is to think, right, you want to pick Jackie against me and mix me up or whatever, well, I'm going to pick a character that mixes up better than most. Enter Sub-Zero. Now, it does mean that Omi has been off to a good start, however, because a clean opening, even that string doing 18% damage, I mean, yeah, it just is what it is. It's been that way since forever, don't question it. But, I mean, either way, we push forward. Omi, I'd say self-cornering, but it doesn't matter. There was meter for the leap. That leap was coming out, and Omi doing a great job of just laying that pressure on thick so far. And now the grabs are coming out. Things are getting really scary.
What a momentum that Omi just did. Like, that is the Jackie snowball effect, essentially. Understanding when you're going to jump, when you're going to get in. But what a freeze here for Stormbreaker. Actually going to put Omi in the corner. He's going to try to get out of this corner with the plasma setup and then leap through. Not going to get the side switch until now. And actually going to push Stormbreaker back into the corner using the back two. Stormbreaker getting the overhead off after that short hop jump. And we have the launcher, so this is going to be some nice damage. Try to, I think, let the knockdown happen. Probably didn't want to use that.
I'm not going to lie.
Early.
That kind of looked like just a combo drop to me, because I think if you're not going to spend the crushing blow, you can still do the move and just not spend it. So that kind of looked to me like one of those awkward situations where you press the button, you've just mistimed it a bit, it doesn't come out, and it's now too late to try and do anything else. Sadly, in doing so, you missed out on a lot of momentum, and that momentum was taken away by Omi in record time, who just stole away that second round. And Stormbreaker now is a difficult decision to make. So, my favorite character, Kung Lao. I don't know what the losers bracket run or the lower bracket run was made with, so I can't say for sure if it was Kung Lao. Could have been Sub-Zero. But your character choice in this next match, you know, your entire tournament life is now in the balance.
You mentioned how Stormbreaker lost momentum, and quite frankly, because of that more than likely drop, that was the only chance that Stormbreaker had to regain some form of control in that round. And because of it, now Omi is pretty much ahead in this game. It is only a best of 3 still, so that means that now this is probably Stormbreaker's last chance to tie it up and take it to a game 3, if he doesn't want to have his run ended here at 4th.
Last chance, as they say. And, oh no. I shouldn't have opened my mouth, because the second I said anything about that, it feels like Omi instantly secured that first hit. Low poke into slide, giving Omi a taste of his own medicine, actually, from when we saw Omi versus Murko. A very, very close match we saw in the upper bracket. However, wow, just triple dashing out of the corner. Stormbreaker does not want to get bullied against the wall there. There goes the overhead. Mix-up to begin. Respectable combo damage and then some. And actually throwing Omi out of the corner. It's a smart choice to go for the less desired throw tech direction. That makes it way higher chance that it's going to work. No slide there. I was almost expecting to see a slide from that air-to-air. Oh, the Stormbreaker. I'd say it's looking good, but the comeback is still kind of real. Watch out for the jump. Another jump.
It is definitely there. This is where you have to control Jackie. You cannot let her get out of this corner. And Stormbreaker is still able to clutch it out. That could have been very dangerous, because it would have been just one hit confirm from Omi into Fatal Blow. But luckily that did not happen. Does trade on the air-to-air. Unfortunately, Omi was ready for that overhead. Understanding that Stormbreaker has been like 2 for 2, now no longer 2 for 3 instead.
This has been all Omi in this round so far. 2 combos is all you need to essentially go coast to coast. The air-to-air jump kick, Omi was more than prepared for your opponent to leave the ground and meet them in kind. Oh, Stormbreaker did the forbidden. Put yourself minus on block and you're still trying to press a button, you're going to get chewed up for that. And Omi brings himself onto match point here. Stormbreaker on the verge of being out this tournament in 4th place. No commitment!
Yeah, no commitment there. Also had enough meters to use it, so probably was just not ready for the overhead to fully hit. But this is the corner for Stormbreaker. Tries to go for the grab, the down one, and now Omi has control. And that is going to be max range in that corner from that dash punch, 43%. And already Stormbreaker is closing through with all that HP left. There goes the down two, crushing blow! And a double one just in case to get max damage. And there you have it. Omi takes it against Stormbreaker 2-0. The revenge match not going in favor of Stormbreaker.
It wasn't entirely hopeless. Stormbreaker had some great opportunities. I think the bulk of the damage did come from the straight mix-up that Sub-Zero had, the overhead and the low. But that kind of was just echoed in the game plan. Okay, so the first match we saw came from Kung Lao. Overwhelming pressure, Jackie Briggs doing Jackie things at the end of the day. No disrespect, of course, you've still got to be good enough to pull it all off. But Stormbreaker thinking, okay, well, if you want to rush me down and you want to play a game of mix-ups and stuff like that, I'm going to do the same thing. And we saw Sub-Zero, the relentless dedication to grab, overhead, low, the stuff we know Sub-Zero's the best at. Deep freeze and rising ice, the 2 things that give Sub-Zero the highest damage. So clearly there was an idea of, I'm going to mix you up and I'm going to get the highest damage possible with the 2 moves that I've taken. And that's just that. Almost worked. It works better than the Kung Lao did, but not quite enough to get a game win. But a respectable top 4 finish. So $50, not bad for a few hours of Mortal Kombat. If you were going to be sitting down practicing it anyway and just playing it, may as well get paid for it, right? But that brings us into top 3. And this would have been my predicted top 3. The order of which, up for debate, I think. My personal pick for top 2 is MakoraN and Murko. So my personal prediction here is that MakoraN is the favourite. But Omi has what it takes to get the win here. By no means count him out.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually, that for me, as someone who's been watching all of these players from, like, again, from when they first started a little bit to even now, where they've been like reaching to these finals. I would also say that Murko and MakoraN tend to be like the top two, but Omi has also had that potential of being top two as well. I think if Omi was on the winner's side of things, then I would definitely say it would have been the Murko versus Omi. For sure, for grand finals. But I think this will still be an exciting match. I think even to an extent, I'm not too sure if Omi has a Cetrion, but this might be a Jackie Cetrion actually that I'll see from these two.
If I recall, and I might be misremembering this, I might be wrong, I think I have seen Omi versus MakoraN in the past, and I believe I've seen Frost. I might be thinking of a different opponent, but I remember, and this is just a testament to I'm getting old. My memory is not what it used to be. But Omi fought against, I think it was MakoraN. There was a ranged opponent, and Frost was the character, and the Frost did quite well. I think we saw Jade a little bit there too. I can't quite remember.
We did. I actually think you're absolutely correct. There was a Jade somewhere. From MakoraN's end, and I was very surprised because I was like, okay, let's go, Jade Gang.
Sub-Zero. I saw a character, I didn't look at the bottom, I saw a character select and I could still see Robocop in the background. I'm like, no, you don't play Robocop. But no, okay, I guess my memory was correct because Omi will be picking Frost in this matchup. Now the moves I always found really interesting because here, is it the same as last time? Auger, Microburst, and then the Air Charge. Here's the thing, you do not often see Frost players take both Microburst and Auger. Most of the time, Frost players will pick one or the other. Not Omi. Omi has way more combo variety thanks to this, and a higher option to keep your damage unbreakable. The Ice Auger, while it can be great for plugging up gaps that might be flawless blockable, they always launch the opponent. Microburst, much more of a grounded tool, and that's where Frost will now have the option of unbreakable damage or regular damage that just hits in more situations.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's this choice. You can't zone with the Ice Bombs, might as well try to get more combo potential. But, wow, MakoraN is doing a phenomenal job against Omi, really setting the pace with punishing. Once again, I think MakoraN's been probably the most successful with Punisher in tonight's bracket, with just both optimized damage and just these movement options that have worked out super well.
I gotta say, the flawless block after that low hit from Frost, I do not see players flawless block that ever, which is a testament to just how ready MakoraN is right now. Blocking those augers, of course, keep in mind, you got to block them carefully at max range, because that, if I'm not mistaken, is the requirement for it to crushing blow. So there's definitely an element there you've got to be very, very careful of. But Omi using the Auger a lot more now to create that distance that normally Scarlet would dominate, and that's one of the reasons this is a smart choice.
And there goes that Ice Dive as well, which is also really, really good. Pretty much almost hard to punish, but there goes this crushing blow, and that's going to be some bleed damage. Look at all of that health just going down, and already putting Omi in fatal territory. And this is a great opportunity because this is corner combo. Oh, dropping it just at the minimum there. And here, Omi's going to try to take back this corner. The breakaway from MakoraN. Having to be a little bit careful here.
Plus, efficient for fatal blow there for sure. But MakoraN was doing the right thing. The second you see that 2-hit string ending in the chest burst, that's pretty plus on block. And I think that going in and pressing a couple more buttons, that was an attempt to think, are you going to panic? Are you maybe going to challenge this? Are you even going to think that I'm going to press a button? You know, and dedicating all the way. Either way, though, 1-0. A clean game for MakoraN, all things considered. Omi looked really, really strong there, but MakoraN looked ready for that matchup. You know, even down to the round 1, within 10 seconds, we saw a flawless block that we don't normally see in a matchup like that. Was a testament to just how prepared MakoraN was. And it looks like Omi's taking that as information. All right, you're ready for Frost. Maybe I don't have enough in the tank with this character to make enough of an impact. I'm going in with Sub-Zero.
Which is also a pretty good choice, right? Like it's a pretty it's still with both combo potential as well as just damage in of itself. You know, I think one thing here is something we've been saying over and over again in tonight's broadcast, is the fact that Scarlet, you're not fighting against Scarlet, right? You're fighting against MakoraN. And MakoraN is such a strong player, has really been showing that he knows how to play on K11.
Yeah, one thing about MakoraN historically is that just getting that absolute first place has often been just where MakoraN's fallen short. And it is kind of tragic in a way, because you can just see the talent, and there's the immediate catch, and that is going to do an insane amount of damage, by the way. It's something that I hope MakoraN can really start to surpass over time as we go into the next Mortal Kombat game. And wow, I'm gonna guess that was a mistake, because sometimes you'll be like holding block and you'll try and wake up roll and you haven't quite let go of block, so you get a fatal blow. I think it might have been something like that. I don't know why you would have fatal blowed from full screen like that. It had to have been a mistake.
Yeah, most definitely, but what a costly mistake, because now this is MakoraN's momentum, and stopping the slide with the low bloodshot as well. Very nicely done there from MakoraN. Is going to be stuck in this corner just a bit, going to get hit by those overheads and get restand. The anti-air from Omi is going to actually continue MakoraN having to break away, but now finally able to get out of this corner just a little bit. Further and further away with the teleport, now on the other side.
I'm looking out for that Sub-Zero forward 4, and actually there, I was about to say, MakoraN is the kind of player that will start punting. Oh, are we to get enough time? Oh, we got it just in enough time! You know MakoraN was mashing that amplify button at 1,000 miles an hour, waiting for it to build and come back. But that's now a 2-0, and it is the preparation, it's the confidence in your own execution, it's the matchup knowledge, even down to earlier in the match we saw a couple of forward 4s unchecked by MakoraN. I know the meter wasn't there for flawless block, but the second we saw the final one, I had it in my mind thinking, I don't know if Omi's going to get away with many more of these forward 4s. MakoraN's the kind of player that will just flawless block that in most opportunities in the final one. We definitely saw it, but it's looking kind of rough. No disrespect to Omi intended at all. I'm well aware of this player's capabilities, but MakoraN is just looking like $1 million right now, and it's going to take a lot to offset this. As I've said many times today, it's momentum, and there's lots of that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that this is just like a problem of that. Omi's doing a bad job. It's just, this is the character, or rather the player, and their skill level showing off completely. And remember, MakoraN's been mostly in the winner side of things, so it's been really, honestly, warmed up to the fullest. Whereas Omi's been going down into the lower side and really taking out some of those players down there. So it's really just coming down to how Omi can adapt here. This is a good round. This is probably one of the better rounds that we've seen on Omi come from against MakoraN. And actually able to get the hit confirm on the ice ball. And use meter for the hit confirm on the slide.
Gets the right combo to maximize your damage while at the same time providing a side switch to end the round. And now another one of those forward 4s. Well, the same. Can't surprise those forward 4s have been as successful, I suppose, as they have been right now. Normally MakoraN would be flawless blocking those constantly. Big jump in. No meter to really get anything though. Amplify had been spent. Oh, armor break, and that didn't get amplified either. That's just going to do damage and take away the breaker from Omi. Watch out for the overhead. No boiling point. Takes the plus frames. Challenges the plus frames of the slide. You are brave man.
And that's one of the things we said before. Omi sometimes plays a little unsafe, and it really throws off not just commentators like ourselves, but also players as well. And I think that was something also, like you mentioned, MakoraN wasn't really flawless blocking, but that might have been, I conditioned, maybe this won't work. But Omi's showing off that conditioning does not work on Omi, and that's a good thing for the type of player that MakoraN is. Oh, he's laid down too.
The break! Are we going to spend it? We are. That was the breaker punish, and we still got about 40% damage. That was absolutely phenomenal stuff for what it was. Now, MakoraN still not in a great situation here. A lot of the meter was spent. We've only just built back one. We're looking to build back some more. Omi, with a lot more resources locked in, and the forward movement as well. We are sliding across that screen. And actually, hang on a minute. The breaker is used, but do you have enough to challenge, MakoraN? Yeah, the moment that parry didn't work, you're kind of left out in the open. You've got nothing left that can prevent the incoming damage. So, Omi, I'm liking it. All right, there's a chance to come back here. Omi being a lot more unpredictable, and that was one of the sides that allowed that game to be so good. It surprised us so much because Omi is not... He's not a particularly reckless player. So when that stuff comes out, you know we're going in with a different game plan.
Yeah, I think it was Omi versus Murko, where at one point Murko was like, okay, I already conditioned, I already did what I needed to do. Now Omi's gonna follow my game plan. But instead, Omi's just like going completely opposite of the playbook and just saying like, hey, I'm still here, I'm just gonna play a little more aggressively instead of trying to play safely. And I think that threw MakoraN off quite a bit, not to mention there was a lot more damage being dealt, and it looks like Omi was just on that momentum ride for the most part. Now, this does mean, though, that Omi is going to have to stick with Sub-Zero. This is still the last potential chance. Has to win at least 2 more games in order to be able to get back into, or rather stay alive in this lower side of the bracket. So, MakoraN still has plenty of games to work around with, even if the loss happens in this round.
Alright, we're starting to establish more of the slides still. Such a good way to, almost at the fullest of full screen, just send a message to someone like Scarlet that you've still got to be careful. You're not going to be able to get every button or projectile out there as you wish. The slide is always a threat. In this case, though, maybe a bit too much emphasis on it, as MakoraN's spacing has been perfect. The low button into the parry. Good damage just to once again send a message that says, you've got to be careful when you press here. I've got a parry and I'm not afraid to use it.
Ooh, that flawless block with the flawless block up 3 from the creeping ice was very good. Very good knowledge. We don't really see a lot of people actually take advantage of that tech on the creeping ice, especially when some up 3s don't always work. But with MakoraN, that's going to definitely do it and actually take the first round.
Escape failed. MakoraN definitely thought that Omi was going to try and throw towards the corner. What a absolutely fantastic pickup. Maybe a little bit too low down to get all of the hits, but at that point, who cares? Anything's better than nothing. MakoraN on the match point here, on the verge of a run back, the chance at revenge versus Murko. Just got to get through the Omi Sub-Zero first.
Stand 1 into the forward 2, and then goes for the blood boiling point here. And we're already going to block the slide, was waiting for it from Omi. Oh.
Anti-air, the whiff down 2, no!
Oh, no!
What a tragic way for a series to end. You know, Omi's not going to be happy about that, but with how much low health Omi was kind of sitting on there, I feel like that was going to be incredibly hard to bring it back, even with that accident of the down 2 that happened afterwards. But MakoraN taking it 3-1. Sadly, Omi is out of the tournament, but a very respectable 3rd place to finish. Can be proud of that, and you know, obviously I don't think we'll be 100% happy with it, because at this point, you know, everyone is capable of winning the tournament, and Omi is absolutely one of those players. However, it means that we have a rematch on our hands. And that brings us into the final series of the day. Murko going up against MakoraN, my personal predicted grand finals. Just experience has taught me to never count these 2 out, basically. But while we go into grand finals, why don't we talk about double elimination? You know, because there's always people that watch these shows that may be a little bit newer to everything, and they might know or not know what we mean by double elim. The grand finals is where it's the most prominent, and Saki, why don't you just run me through it?
Yeah, of course. So for those of you that are very new to competitive, especially with fighting games, double elimination means that every player in this bracket will have 2 lives. Now, for many of our players, they all led into the lower side of the bracket, which is why they were able to keep on going until their losses. But in the case of MakoraN, they only have 1 life left as they go ahead and rematch Murko. Now, because this is Grand Finals, Murko hasn't lost any lives. So, with that in mind, if Murko loses this first 2-3 or best of 5, there is still a chance for Murko to make it to come back because of the bracket reset, and leading into Murko's second life. So, what this means for MakoraN is you're going to have to win about 6 games if you're going to want to take home that championship, or for Murko, it only takes 3 games for him to win. So that is how our double elimination bracket reset rules work.
It is a test of endurance, and so much can affect a player in this grand final setting where, let's look at a player, we've seen these scenarios many times. A player works to the bone to secure a bracket reset in that first 3 out of 5, but at that point they've poured so much of their energy into that reset, there's nothing left, and they can't get any more games afterwards because they're just burned out, really. Some players will, on the opposite end, secure a very close 3 out of 5. They'll take it in that final game to reset, and then the player that secured the reset just has all the momentum, and the player on the upper bracket side of grand finals has now just been so overwhelmed by it. Some players just get tired in the middle of a grand finals. The fatigue can set in because you've got to be paying so much attention and having such good reactions and awareness. It takes a toll, and it's why the grand finals is often the most interesting part of the tournament, because it is who is more ready for the potential marathon. It looks like so far Murko will try and make this as quick as possible. If you can secure that win without your opponent getting any games, they haven't got a chance to get started.
Yeah, usually some of the more stronger moments tend to be when you definitely get hit the first 2 games won. You can definitely see a lot of strength there, but this is where MakoraN's going to really have to essentially outplay from the very beginning, right? And we're already seeing such a good start with this round, where now it's really MakoraN that's starting to lose the health, and Murko's going to have to play the catch-up game.
Nice little reactionary stand block on that overhead. And it is in MakoraN's best interests to take these first few games, because if Murko goes 2 up here, you go in character select and you think, I've not won a match yet, my opponent only needs 1 more, I've got to win 3 just to get the reset, and then we have to do a whole 3 out of 5 again. It can be a lot.
Yeah, especially with the pace of Mortal Kombat 11, where it's a lot of poke heavy,
nice.
And a lot of back and forth, but this was a great start. That actually killed thanks to the meter burn as well, so this is a great start. Again, this is the first round that goes to MakoraN. And really, what we've kind of been saying is how MakoraN's just been playing like $1 million with many of the other players. Was even doing extremely well in the last rematch between Murko and themselves. So this is
the biggest thing that allowed MakoraN to start taking it to Murko in that winners finals was the aggression started to shift the other way. MakoraN was being a lot more reserved. Murko was overwhelming. Murko was running away with it. MakoraN went, okay, I'm going to swap this up, and I'm now going to start bringing it to you. The confidence in that rush down and the pressure up close to match your opponent worked wonders. It's just that Murko in that final match was able to match that pace again. It's just the nature of the back and forth of these two. And it kind of looks like MakoraN has started a lot more high octane than when we saw in the winners finals. So that's exactly what we want to see. Yo, that was the slowest, most efficient anti-air I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
That's it. Game 1.
This is a great game 1 for MakoraN. You mentioned something super interesting too about how like MakoraN really established this high octane, like this is my match, this is my gameplay. But if you notice, even with some of those instances where usually Murko would flawless block up 3, MakoraN's been ready for every single flawless block attempt that Murko has attempted. And that says a lot with how MakoraN is still remembering that last rematch, especially the last 2 games that he had against Murko, versus now Murko's still playing the same way, right? Hasn't had any other matches except for the last one that was in winners finals, and MakoraN's the one that's like, okay, I'm awake. My brain's already running on that high energy, like I'm ready to go. this is what I remember from the last match. Let's start implementing it right away. So MakoraN's ahead in the later game.
It is why, you know, the lower bracket sounds like a pure bad place to be, but it's why some players can use that, and something about it, they rise to the occasion, and it makes them play better than ever. Sometimes it's the pressure of being in the lower bracket that it makes people play just much better because there's more on the line. And sometimes you just get more matches, and it can be as simple as that. However, we're starting off strong, big damage, and we're going to go 40%. Owie. Thank you very much for that, Scorpion.
Actually, a really great way too, because that leaves MakoraN in just like Fatal Blow territory, with Murko practically still at full health, only losing what, like 20% essentially, and is just sitting comfortably, where there's a little bit more of risk that can be taken, and whereas MakoraN has to kind of play a lot of catch up essentially, and having to use a lot of resources too if that was capable. But that jump kick is going to seal the deal, and it's going to go first round to Murko.
The wake up 3. Almost element of what do I have to lose kind of situation there for a MakoraN. Now Murko, at that first round on the board, we start to pressure, and we're going to start to see more of that searing rage again. This time MakoraN ready for the down one. Often after that third hit, some players get caught off guard and their down one doesn't come out because they're just not used to that button. There's been plenty of games with MakoraN and Murko for him to be ready for it now. Wow, back-to-back down one. Okay, they're really challenging here. We pick up the boiling point. That's going to be huge damage. We spend even more meter on it. Challenging it on wake up, and even that choice. Murko tries to go for a micro dunk. What's going on? Mate, is your block button broken?
Murko was definitely lost in the sauce there from MakoraN, and also just didn't really have enough defensive resources to really get out of there from that corner, and now it's tied up in this game.
MakoraN.
You ever get lost
again
in the sauce like that against Scarlet Ketchup? I sometimes do.
Mate, I get lost in the sauce in every match ever. I'll do one really good combo and then I'll just start doing really stupid stuff like that. I mean, I've already won the game now. Oh, hang on a minute. Escape failed. Actually, wow, I totally missed that before. The crushing blow throw was already locked and loaded. And I have to set up some expectations here, and if I'm lying, just call me out later. This could be a really long grand finals, because with how back and forth these two are, we could go into a close final game in game 5 before the reset has even taken place. And if it's anything like the fact that this is just game 2, strap yourselves in, because we could be here for a while. Punish? No!
Woke up a little too late on that, but there is the potential for both to either get a single hit confirmed.
What? The call out! The call out! That was 100%. You're going to release block, to flawless block this, and I'm going to fatal blow to catch you doing it. And that's exactly what happened. That was such a bold decision, and it worked.
Those bold decisions. The high risk, high reward, right? It works.
I mean, it worked because you're fighting Murko. If you try that in Combat League, that is never going to work. It's just, you're going up against an opponent. You're going up against an opponent who does so many flawless blocks and is so integrated into the match that they see that string and will try and flawless block in that situation, which was why the fatal blow connected. If you did that against someone in Combat League, they would have blocked it, punished you, and gone, this opponent's an idiot, why did fatal blow there? And they wouldn't even have realised what the attempt was, right? That's the difference in levels that we're working with here. No disrespect to the ranked demons. No disrespect.
Sometimes those ranked demons come out in tournaments and they're ready, right?
Yeah, Murko was a ranked demon for many years.
Yes, I remember the legends of Murko on Combat League, and definitely had to be on the edge of your seat for sure. But this is a good round start. Unfortunately, that second meter teleport is not going to work out to it because of MakoraN using Breakaway. What an anti-air though. Gonna have to use Breakaway as well on Murko's end. Now both players without much of defensive resource. MakoraN just getting it back, and there goes this punish. Going to be able to do quite a bit of damage. Yep, there goes the boiling point for the meter burn as well.
some of you viewers at home may have noticed a new Scorpion costume, and with Murko that means a new variation. This means we've gone back to the teleport cancel. If this is potentially the last game before a reset, Murko clearly trying to mix things up and allow for a playstyle change that this cancelled teleport will provide for it. I guess we'll see how much, because truthfully, when I see these two play in the past, it is Searing Rage that gives Murko the highest success. So this might be a, look, if the reset might happen, I'm just going to try something different. MakoraN prepared for the teleport and strapped in for what could be a reset point.
I don't think I've really seen a player in this bracket challenge Murko's teleport cancels the way I've seen MakoraN just be fully prepared for it. And again, this is literally MakoraN playing like $1,000,000, ready for anything that Murko is trying to throw out. And honestly, really understanding the character matchup. And this is the bleed damage that's just going to do quite a bit of damage. And again,
oh my lord!
The challenge, it's just working out so well for MakoraN.
The throw tech. At least Murko was able to escape something there, and there's the up 3. And actually, the last effort in this round to turn around and get some kind of momentum yourself. Here's the spear. Of course we amplify. We want to keep MakoraN in the corner, but MakoraN, full bars of meter. Is a wake-up ever going to happen? It could be a roll, the interactable. This time it's overhead. Oh, wait, a 2-1-2. That's not going to be enough to take the kill. Plus, expects the button. Oh my god!
This
that
was
just everything.
It was everything, yeah. Like, I don't think I felt like MakoraN was really trying to get out of the corner, was trying to react probably to that overhead, but just was not able to really get going in those
Single
instances.
hit.
This is Murko going to probably be able to capitalize off of some of this momentum, finally able to get it. Great throw tech, the actual counter and interrupt of the string. I'm going to be fully able to hit confirm and has to use the throw to throw Murko back towards the corner.
Murko is whiffing. My boy is pressing buttons. All kinds of buttons, not all of them being the right one. Oh, there's the break! And that's a punish. Still picks up boiling point. And there's still much more damage on deck. No meter to turn that into anything more. Murko, this is your last chance. Releases block, and that wasn't the decision to make as MakoraN. Okay, 3-0. We've had a reset bracket, but with even that comeback that Murko made in that game, I don't think we're losing out on momentum. I'm still thinking that Murko is, no pun intended, as a Scorpion player, totally warmed up. I feel like we're going into this fresh reset just as potentially close as ever in those individual games. Because we saw a wicked comeback from Murko. My only question is, do we stick with teleport cancel? Because I'm not going to lie, I didn't see that teleport cancel do much for him there.
No, I agree with you there. I think, yep, we're going to switch the costume, I think.
Now we're waiting. Oh, he has gone back. He's gone back. I called it. God, I'm so smart, Murko. I know you so well.
It's like you said, the teleport cancel, MakoraN was just super ready for it. Like, every time, it was like not just waiting for it to happen. It was like, you're going to try to either walk back or you're going to try to press a button. Let me respond in time so that you don't get to do it. Also, just amount of damage, right? Here we're going to see a lot of damage dished out. And also see checkmate situations that we usually see with that death spin.
Although Murko, I feel like there's a little bit of Murko that might be a bit reserved on those death spins. Lovely reactions, by the way. This is what I mean. We're still warmed up and we're still ready for... Oh, God! 40% damage. Are you kidding? I was going to say something about the death spin and the fact that there was a game previously where he survived one hit, but no time for that. So much has happened already. We're moving straight into the next play. In this case, the Burning Spear buff is activated. Good block on the overhead. That's been something Murko has been trying to check MakoraN with the entire series. And every time this throw comes out and it puts back to full screen, and you would consider that a benefit for MakoraN, but any projectile could be an instant teleport reaction, so it's a scary mind game.
Very, very scary indeed. what an anti-air, not gonna be able to fully hit confirm, but the movement, the back and forth between actually gonna be using the explosion of the blood, and MakoraN's gonna catch Murko very much off guard. Now this is essentially Chip gonna be able to though punish off of the fatal blow attempt. You know, if MakoraN was able to do the fatal blow, so can Murko, right? It's worth the attempt. It's the last ditch effort. You don't have a lot of health to even begin with. If anything, you're gonna get pushed back, and that's gonna start off some spacing for you.
It was trying to go for a similar situation to how MakoraN did the 1-2 fatal blow before, because it was a forward 3, right? You're going to release block and try and flawless block the forward 3-4. Well, this variation gives you the extra hit to fatal blow, so the attempt was almost completely identical. It just, this time around, it didn't work, I suppose. But if it did, oh, it would have been enough to win around, and it would have been glorious. Now, trying to push back. The jump in, the spear option select, and actually we're going to turn a jump kick into 30% damage into a side switch. And that's one of the things I love about this variation, is that the combo enders, you can now really choose whether you stay in front or behind anytime you want. If you want to stay in front, end it in 2-1-2+4. That's a lovely KB. And now actually, the pressure's on Murko once again. The fake
There
button! The
goes.
fake button!
Oh.
Faked out the projectile with a standing 1. Blocked the teleport and then did an unbreakable 1-2 boiling point. MakoraN! Mate, you gotta calm down.
No calming down on this train, because we are going full steam ahead, and Murko is... Oh man, Murko's just been getting pretty much red in many of these situations.
4 games in a row this is. 4 games! If MakoraN takes this 6-0, this would not be something I've seen before. But MakoraN currently is just having Murko's number.
I'm gonna
It's
knock
as
on wood.
simple as
That way you don't curse the players. Put commentators curse on them. I'm just gonna knock on wood for you.
Good idea. I didn't do that. I'll
That
let
way
fate
we
decide.
keep it safe.
Do you believe in fate, Neo? Why not?
Wow, what an insane performance here from MakoraN. It's just been such a treat, to be honest. And again, this is something that, like, I was noticing from the very beginning, especially from the first game before the bracket reset, is calling out Murko's habits extremely well, even to the point of the flawless block, right? Like, we're really seeing MakoraN tease out those flawless block attempts and then capitalize on them.
It is a really good thing to point out because, again, I'm going back to... Oh, it's a lovely, lovely combo there. It's the understanding and mastery of your character. The biggest weakness... By the way, that's escape failed, so watch out for the next Scorpion throw. The biggest weakness that Scarlet players have always said about this character, and they are correct, it's not even like they're wrong, is that she is very prone to being flawless blocked. The second someone flawless blocks her stuff, she struggles in a lot of ways. However, at this level, the opponent flawless blocking is being used against them so much in, albeit risky plays. The confidence and understanding is there that you are now so prone to flawless block me, I'm doing a million things to punish you for doing it. And you have to be a master of the character for that stuff to work. It just won't work at any other level.
This does seem to be pretty much Murko's round, at least the beginning of it. We did see Murko take the first round, and now it's really MakoraN that's going to have to play catch-up on the health. Actually, not teasing out those false blocks anymore. It's actually Murko being successful. There goes that escape failed crushing blow that you mentioned earlier. Now that is bleed damage, so that's going to do quite a bit even then. And the wake up 3.
Right. You needed to get yourself back into this series. That is the #1 way to do it. Dominantly take that next game. And before that, for the first time, MakoraN took the lead in the series. We have now tied ourselves back up, which means that from this point on, it's a best of 3. It may as well be. And Murko really, really enjoyed what I saw in that last match. And this is kind of what I mean with these two. There's never a set-in-stone outcome where one person starts to just feel it, and from then on it's like they're just taking the rest of the series. There's no getting back on it. That's not how it works with these two. Someone makes a big adaptation, whether it's in damage output, whether it's in different kind of reads or decision making, there's always that next bit of expectation for the opponent to think, yeah, I'm now going to match that and take it further.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you there. It is one of those moments as a competitor that you're closing in on, I would say, the end, right, of this tournament, and you have to play clean, you have to play solid, you have to really be aware. And honestly, again, we were talking about it earlier when it came to stamina. You know, some players are able to really hold on to that, like playing 6 games in a row. But once you start playing through and you get a little too comfortable, you have to stay alive and awake on it. Oh, the movement!
That would have been over 30% damage. And I'd like to point out too, I think Murko was partying a bit too hard with the teleport reactions, where MakoraN was faking out projectiles by just standalone buttons, and it kind of almost was a wake-up call that now Murko isn't falling for the standalone buttons and is looking so much closer for projectiles. The confidence to reaction teleport is still there, but he's paying more attention to what the animation is. And I gotta say, you have a matter of frames to determine whether it's a reactable move or not. So Murko being able to do that is kind of ridiculous, if you ask me.
Absolutely. Now, that first round does go to Murko. And there was the flawless block with the up 3 as well in response, catching MakoraN off guard. No, it was a close jump, but not going to be able to succeed. And we're going to go for the grab off of that roll. Tries to bait out the attempt on the escape field, but MakoraN playing patient.
That's 30%!
Oh! It reached!
Well, that parry was sick. The fact that those 2 buffed death spins did 30% combined was just like, that's a combo right there!
Yeah.
In like 5 seconds. And then I gotta say, yeah, that parry was a nice answer.
Sometimes maybe that's what the answer has been for MakoraN in some of those instances, right? But we do see the down 1 check, and once again these single buttons, but it is not looking good for MakoraN. Very close checkmate situation, of course the down 4, and there it goes. Murko now ahead for the first time in the series, before and after the bracket reset. 2-1 against MakoraN. Ooh.
It's how lightning fast they are able to adapt to each other that makes any big-time series they play in a real treat. Because it's not incredibly common that someone is essentially getting steamrolled in the grand finals. You know, a clean 3-0 reset happens. They dominantly win the 4th game, and then normally from that point, it's kind of all she wrote. It just looks like there's not enough in the opponent to be able to make some kind of, oh no.
Are we seeing the session? I knew it was coming. I knew it was going to come pretty soon, to be honest.
The reason I say oh no is not because I dislike the character. I don't want that to come across as negative. It's more the fact that Murko spent years fighting Asadamasa and was one of the best players at fighting Cetrion I had ever seen. If that Murko is still here, I'm not sure about this character change. I hope I'm wrong, but let's see.
Now, this does mean that if MakoraN wins, there's still at least one more match, right? So that could give enough time for Murko to adapt, as something that we've seen a countless times, especially earlier on in the bracket. But you're definitely right. We have to see if the old Murko comes back. Murko has to go to his old self, essentially, for that.
Well, I guess one thing to take away from that, though, is that currently Murko is locked into Searing Rage, so one tool that would be quite good in this matchup is that cancel teleport that Murko currently does not have. So I guess there is that going for MakoraN, on top of the fact that clearly his Cetrion is fantastic, and it is a good choice to be made. But there's the turnaround. Damage output is one thing. No, he dropped it! He dropped it! No! That button just did not come out, did it? That is a shame right there.
It also seems that MakoraN also had dropped the Ender onto that combo. Was probably trying to go for the wins, but wasn't able to. Oh, there goes his teleport, though.
No, another drop! I'm almost wondering if that would have been fatal blow. MakoraN. The jump in, and it threw the button! That's 950, you're dead. You're dead. That is absolutely going to do it. Murko on match point. For his sake, it was good that he managed to do it, because there were a couple of key drops there that You would have been kicking yourself afterwards. Now, MakoraN. All right. All right. A little bit of damage, but outside of Crushing Blow, there's no way on this earth she's out-damaging Scorpion. Oh, no!
There goes the buff. And again, the overhead. MakoraN not really actually
Oh,
reacting
no!
to the overhead. This is bad for MakoraN. This is 44%. Oh!
And that's a 950 health character, so that's so much more tender. Can't whiff punish the back three. Looks for it, though. Now, Murko. Whatever your adaptation was, my friend, it's looking like it might be enough. And that is the game for sure with a brutality finish. Murko, going into the grand finals on the winner's bracket, concedes the reset to MakoraN Scarlet, but then is able to wake up, turn things up a gear, and ultimately win the entire tournament. So GG's and congratulations, Murko, on a personal level, mate. It's good to see you play again. I have not seen you in PlayStation tournaments in some time. So absolutely wonderful stuff there from one of the best Scorpions to ever do it. And I gotta say, we're going into Mortal Kombat 1 in a few months. We know what Scorpion's moves are like now, thanks to the combat cast and the demonstration that we saw there. You know, where does Murko go from here? Because we know he's going to play Scorpion, and we know he's going to be grinding, and we know that he's damn successful in Mortal Kombat 11. So I don't think this will be the end of the story, personally. I think that Scorpion's just going to roll on over into another game.
I think even more because of how the combos like just look in that game. But let's take one last final look into the bracket of tonight's EU PlayStation Fight Nights. This is your top 8 and then of course top 4, with Murko winning the bracket reset, taking home first place and the win for this month. MakoraN in second, Omi in third, and then Stormbreaker in fourth. And then of course we have Starks and H-Dope in fifth, and then MB or Fancy Pants and Gollywomp in seventh. And you know, regardless of how this bracket went, everyone should be definitely proud of themselves. You made it to this top 8. You were on stream. You got to show off your skills. Again, this is probably one of the last few major tournaments for Mortal Kombat 11, and you all really solidified that you are definitely one of MK11's, especially EU's, best here on the PlayStation Fight Nights.
It has been stiff competition on PlayStation tournaments for a couple of years now. I was grinning like an idiot before we went to the bracket because I've just realized in my head that there's a likelihood that Murko's going to play Scorpion with a Scorpion cameo in Mortal Kombat 1. And as we go into the future, you know, I don't know what any plans are, you know, but if you're on this stream and we see MK1 at some point in the future and Murko's there picking both Scorpions, I called it here first, right? Just you were here when it happened. But overall, it's been a fantastic day, and it's always a wonderful reminder to see what the level of online play is looking like. It's not just Fight Nights here. We do have EVO coming up, which is not that long away. The final major event for Mortal Kombat 11, and I would say a fitting send-off. Now, it's not the end of the action today. If you liked what you saw, stay tuned, because there's going to be a bit of a break, and when we come back, North America has their Fight Nights episode with a fresh new top 8. But before we close out the show, there's a few things to go over. The first of which being, if you want to get involved in everything related to competitive PlayStation, go to compete.playstation.com. It's as simple as that. All the information you need, it tells you how to sign up. You can sign up using the website. You can sign up on your console in some cases. I promise it is easier to get involved now than it ever has been. I wish I had this when I was not washed up like over 10 years ago. It would have made my life a lot easier. Outside of that, though, there are other things to sink your teeth into. There is an official Discord now where you can chat and play and watch party with other PlayStation fans. You can see it in front of you right here. It's the community Discord. Either put the link in that you see on your screen, or an easier one is to scan the QR code that's on your screen. Finally, and this is really interesting, there is some competitive Street Fighter 6 action about to take place. Everyone's been on Street Fighter right now, myself included. Everyone's enjoying it, but it's a fresh new game and a chance for players to show their worth in this new major chapter of the FGC. And if you want to do that yourself, look at the bottom of the screen. Sign up and get involved at play.eslgaming.com/Street Fighter /SF6 PlayStation Cup. There you go. Enjoy.
Yes, indeed. And of course, just remember that there will be multiple tournaments for the Street Fighter 6 PlayStation Cup. The actual broadcast for the finals, I believe, will be on July 29th, and you don't want to miss it. This is actually happening right before EVO, which has probably one of the big, like, it's, what, 10,000 practically just for Street Fighter 6. It's definitely over 9,000, and you don't want to miss out. And once again, when that top 8 is stacked, you already know what's going to happen. It's going to be pretty exciting.
I really wanted to reach across and actually get my EVO medal, but it's, I promise you, just out of reach. But I promise you it's there. I'm not making it up. You know, I did get top 8 in Mortal Kombat X in 2015. Don't watch the top 8 because I got washed, but you can feel free to watch how I got there, and that will be much more reflective of my skill back then. You know, totally is that. But on a more serious note, thank you all so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful time. It's always lovely to do these Mortal Kombat shows. Thank you, Saki, for joining me. It's a pleasure.
It was a pleasure commentating with you.
I hope we get the chance to do it again soon. But as I said, we're going to take a break. When we come back, there'll be fresh new faces and fresh new players for another top 8. Thank you very much to the production team. It's often a thankless task doing stuff like this. I promise, though, we definitely appreciate you for doing all the heavy lifting while we sit here and just talk about video games. So my name is Ketchup. This is PlayStation Tournaments Fight Nights for MK11. North America up next. Thank you, much love, and peace out.